And we're live, and with me I have Cognitive Thoughts. Welcome aboard.
Hello there. Hello, world.
I'm glad you were able to make it.
Don't worry about it. I've just woken up, but I'm in the right mood.
You wake up at 3 p.m. your time?
Well, to be fair, I went to bed quite late yesterday. I went to bed about 5 in the morning. Yeah, very busy. Working on little projects, and also I had my own live stream till about 1 a.m. in the morning or something like that as well.
So how did you come up with the name Cognitive Thoughts?
Cognitive thought was something that, well, it usually comes up in discussion and debates online where people always have what I would call a cognitive dissonance. And the idea of having a cognitive thought is the fact that your thoughts are at least constructive to a degree. And then the logo came from that, really. But it's because I've always seen it as cognitive thought. A lot of people use the term critical thinking, but I'll be responding to a guy called Critical Thinking on his channel about a video he's doing soon because... yeah, but it's also to do with the fact that I had the idea for the logo too, so it all kind of meshed together.
How would you describe your personality?
God. I would say that I'm an easygoing person. I would say that I'm also a bit of a cunt sometimes. I'm very blunt. That's the best way, and a lot of people would call that a cuntish manner, I suppose. But it's more a fact that I'm just a very blunt person. I don't have a bullshit attitude. I think I'm quite nice to a degree. I'm very fair, but at the same time, I can be very, very fucking sarcastic. So,
yeah, sorry about the noise. Like I was feeling a little bit drowsy, so I had the alarm sets for 9 to help wake me up.
Oh, don't worry about it. I didn't even hear them. Your mic's obviously pretty good.
Let's see. Have you ever been a feminist?
No, I never have.
Would you describe yourself as an anti-feminist?
No, not really. To a degree, I suppose, but not really. If I see someone's argument against anti-feminism, I always like to look at it because I like to understand their version of anti-feminism. To me, it's more anti-stupid. It's the best way of putting it, is because I know feminists. I actually have a few friends who are feminists, but they believe in the advocacy of women's rights in countries where rights for women need advocating, such as the many theocracies in the world. Let's talk Saudi Arabia, Kabul. Like, there's many places that actual rights for women need advocating, and they know that in the Western world, the rights aren't needing to be advocated for women. So they are feminists, but only in the matter of not in the Western world. They look at it from the other. So I can understand it from that point of view. So it's not that, it's more a case of I'm not an anti-feminist. I'm just anti-perpetuating bullshit, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why did you start a YouTube channel? And if you have a different answer, then what's inspired you to make what inspired you to make the YouTube videos that you did?
I think the reason why I started my YouTube channel initially was because I think I was watching, like Bearing Thunderfort, Armored Skeptic, and Shoe on Head and stuff online. I didn't know a lot about the rest of the community at that point. And I was only like just a small YouTube follower. I also watched things like Screen Junkies and stuff, and Machinima and stuff when it has decent things on it, or Corridor Digital. But when it came down to it, it was more a case of I was on Facebook, and a lot of my friends at the time who had almost adopted the ideology of feminism started calling me a misogynist and a sexist for not supporting feminism and being against it because I didn't understand where women's rights needed to be advocated in the West. I was then, called a rape apologist and stuff. You get all the nasty names, misogynist, rape apologist, you get it all, mansplaining. And because I heard all this and I'd seen it all online already, in my head, I was just like, wow, this is because you don't really get a lot of it in real life. I find a lot of it is more on social media and online media, or especially in online social media. And you get a lot of it. And I realized it, and I thought, you know what? I've seen these people doing it, and I want to have my voice out there fighting against this stuff because it has really like a virus, started to sink into the Western world like it's needed. I mean, we have places in the UK now that literally give women leave when they're on their period, paid leave to go on their period every month. They also have places in England where they believe there's an actual wage gap. So what they're doing in certain companies is they're tallying up the actual how much the earnings of women and men, and then regardless of what position it is, they're just going to take up women to men ratio and then pay the women the excess. So you can start this job at the most basic level, being like a woman on the most basic level of that job, and you'll probably be getting paid the same amount as the manager. Because it's ridiculous. But this is what I mean, and because this is like a virus that is sinking into the Western world, I had to fight out against it. I would say my aspirations and the people that have inspired me, let's say, to be like this would be definitely people like Shuon Head, Thunderthought, Armor Skeptic, and also Bearing. There's a few since I've joined the community that have also definitely had an impact on me, such as Edgy Sphinx, Kraut T. There's so many of them, and I've tried to almost like adopt little bits from their channel myself, because I almost see it as like, yeah, that's exactly how I want your message to go out there, with a little bit of comedy. And the reason why is because people can take on board a lot of information. I watch a lot of Tildair as well, and I love Tildair for he's the best person for giving the most citation and references and research, and he's great for that. But I feel that sometimes, even when I'm watching his program and it goes on a little bit too long, I'm like, right, you've made your point about 10 minutes ago, and I'm enjoying watching the show, but I like it when there's a little bit of comedy and humor added in there. And I think that's one thing that I try and bring to mind, is the fact that you have the factual, but there's also a little bit of a jokey edge too.
Wow, I'm surprised. I had no idea that there's actually a country in the world where women are paid to be on their periods, on their periods, because where I'm from, if you have your period, you still got to go to work, you still got to go to school. Yeah. You cannot take a day off school because you have your period. You have your period, too damn bad. You still got to go to school.
I mean, it's almost like saying, I know it's almost like saying it's nowhere near, but it's almost like saying, if I cut my face in the morning while shaving, can I not go to work because I'm bleeding from my face now? Like, if it's quite a deep cut or something like that. Sorry, I'm bleeding from my face. I can't come to work because I've had a shave this morning. It's nowhere similar, I know, but it's the same stupidity of if you do, like, that's the only thing I can think from a male perspective that I actually have to do every day, like, for work, is have a shave to a degree. There are some places that allow you now not to have a beard, but there's a lot of places that are like, no, we have a shaved policy where you have to shave your face and everything, and it's clean cut. So yeah, it's like, it's really stupid, because sure, periods can be very, very painful. However, there's medication for that. Not only that, but there are scientists that make blogs that tell you how to make your period less painful. We've got Bearing in the chat, by the way, and Omegon.
Well, really, Bearing's in chat.
Yeah, he said Bearing. We're not all Northerners.
Are you an MRA?
I don't brand myself under MRA, but I do see rights that men do need advocating in the West. So to a degree, I like the advocacy of men's rights, because people always see MRA as men's rights activists as well, when it's advocator. And then you have MRM, which is the men's rights movement. And I do understand rights that men don't have, or at least there are definitely sexual biases within the law when it comes to, let's say, breaking up with a partner and having children with them, and who is going to be the responsible parent. Then by law, it's usually default set to the woman. Whereas it would be better if that wasn't like that, and it was more the fact that, but again, like I'm saying, it's more a case of, I wouldn't brand myself as a men's rights activist, but I understand that, yes, definitely men's rights do need advocating in the West. But it all falls under the fact that I want the rights advocating for everyone if they're needed. It's not really a men, female, or racial thing. It's more of an equality of everyone. That's why I like to go under egalitarian.
Has there ever been a point in time where you considered yourself MGTOW?
No. To be fair, the moment when I actually when I came across MGTOW and learned what it was, I understood the concept of going, yeah, I'm going my own way. But there's a lot of MGTOW that go, I'm going my own way as a man, and I really have no sexual interest in a woman, and I can understand that. That's fair enough. But then there are people that go, I'm MGTOW, but I also like fucking women, but I also hate women, so I like having sex with them, but I also hate them at the same time. And it's like that bit for me is almost like, it just sounds a little bit weird. It's like you're disconnected from the thing that it's like you have an attraction there, but it's like, I've got an attraction, but I don't want to get to know the person. I don't know. That doesn't work with me in my mind, but MGTOW's got different areas of it, but I don't think I am MGTOW, and I don't think I even act it to a degree.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of weird, because it's kind of like, there are different words out there. You can say like I'm single, or I, you don't really need that word MGTOW, man, going your own way. Like, why not be a bachelor, or it's like there's like 1 billion words in the English dictionary, and it's kind of like MGTOW, men going their own way, instead of just I am going my own way.
It's one of those with the amount of bloody genders Tumblr's coming up with. Before you know it, you're gonna have like gender fluid going my own way. Like you have WGTOW as well, which is women going their own way, and it's like, right, okay, I love the fact that you've made a few letters to make up the fact that you're deciding things for yourself. Personally, I think I've always been a human that's always kind of gone my own way, but it's also I can take on board information. So it's more a case of you're always going your own way. Regardless, it's just that you either get a spouse that comes along with you, and you then start making decisions about both of yourselves together on how these things may impact your life. But you essentially are always going your own way to a degree. I mean, I've been in relationships before where, let's say, jobs come up or something, and you can't stay with the person or they have to move to another part of the country, and it's like, well, I can't do that because it doesn't work for my life right now. And you have to make an agreement upon yourself. You care about one another, of course you do, but at the same time, you have two separate lives that you are going to live. And it's not that you're a man going your own way and a woman going your own way. Hey, hashtag that shit on Twitter. No, it's a case of you're just living your life. And everyone lives their life and goes their own way. You just find someone that wants to be a part of that, and you want to be a part of theirs, and you make these decisions together, I think. And so from a degree, men going their own way is, I don't want to be in a relationship. And same with women going their own way. I don't want to be in a relationship. But when you see these people having sexual conquest and also having sexual partners, it confuses me to like, what? I mean, seriously, in this age of porn, you can't sit at home and watch porn and go your own way. Yeah,
that's the thing that I found weird, how they're kind of like, I'm a man going my own way, and ever since then I'm getting all these bitches. I'm getting laid left and right because women love an aggressive man, and women love how I treat them now. And it's kind of like men going their own way are the type of men that I found to be most obsessed about women. I never seen men being that obsessed until I met MGTOW men.
Yeah. So what would you say? Would you say you're a woman going her own way?
No, I would say I'm single.
So you're WGTOW right now. Or are you actually interested in men? There you go. Or women. I don't know. Throw that out there.
I mean, if the right man were to come along, then I would go for it. But until the right person comes along, I'm pretty happy.
What do you think about the term "real man"?
Real man?
You know what it's like? Real men don't do this, and real men do this. Those sort of fucking stupid things.
It's weird because it's not like being a man determined by your genetics.
Yeah, it is. Essentially, it's well, to be fair, these days it's actually determined on how you identify the moment that you've grown up to the point where you go, right, I've realized I have fingers and I have toes. I've chewed on them since the age of 0. And now I've got to the point where I realize I've got a penis as well. And I know how I go to the toilet, but now I'm going to decide that I want to be a woman. So gender's more, I don't know, gender's one of those things that I think there are some people that are born and then over time they do think, and they have a gender dysphoria. But I think there's a big difference, like you say, between biological gender and gender dysphoria, because as we know, gender dysphoria now can have up to fuck knows how many genders. I don't know what, I think it's 97 it's on now or something, or over 100. but that's all gender dysphoria. That's people like you have a gender fluid. Gender fluid is where a person is one gender at one point in the day and then another gender at another point in the day, this can happen at any time as well. So they can be male at one point and then they can be female at another point. But because of the amount of genders, they can be male at one point and then at the other time of the day, they could be non-binary female or whatever the fuck that means. Or they could be, suddenly they go to agender, which doesn't make sense to me how you can 1 minute be a gender and the next minute have no gender in your mind. But this is the thing. This is why when it comes down to people imposing on your life that you must understand their personal pronouns, it's like, fuck you. You don't even understand yourself. When you understand yourself, get back to me. Put a t-shirt on or something telling me how to do it, because especially if I don't know you, or give me a gender signifier. A gender signifier works in the way of if you're wearing makeup all over your face and lipstick and stuff, and you're wearing high heels and hair, even though you would call these, gender roles, and you're making women wear these things, you sexist motherfucker. No, these are gender signifiers. If I see a man dressed in a dress with high heels, even though he is technically a cross-dresser and he may not have had any surgery, if he's got makeup and a big wig on, I'm going to consider him a woman, because in his mind, he wants to be seen as a woman, and he is giving me gender signifiers by what he's wearing. And we do use attire as gender signifiers. We don't use it to define our gender to a good degree, but we use it to show the public and the people around us who we are. It's the reason why you will see a goth or something dressed in black, and you'll see a skater kid with his skateboard and his hat backwards and his pants around his ankles, and you'll see rappers probably with the same pants around their ankles and a big baseball cap on or something, and big chains on and stuff. And there are little things that kind of make, and there are stereotypes out there for a reason, and people also adhere to stereotypes. And this is the reason why there are signifiers of genders, signifiers of stereotype, or of what type of person that you are. And we use these things all the time. It's not like, but then you can walk down the street and you can see someone just in jeans and a t-shirt. You go, oh, how would you judge him? Don't. Talk to him. If you have no idea how to know who the person is, the most you can do from that point is probably go, well, they want to be, identified as a man, from that point of view. But I think it's quite clear from my point of view when I look at people what they want to be gender signified as. That's why when it comes to these freaking gender flux people or fluid people, where it's 1 minute one part of the day and 1 minute the other, you're a he at one point and then a she and then no gender and then a they and a them by the rest of the day. And that baffles me. That confuses the shit out of me, that I'm supposed to know your confused gender, which you will change when you feel like it. I could go, hi there, how are you doing? And they'll go, I'm fine. It goes, so shall I call you a she? Don't call me a she, call me a he. Sorry, you look like a girl, so I went for girl, but okay, you're a he. Actually, now I feel like a she. So now you've got to call me a she. And this could be an argument that goes on all day with somebody who's gender fluid. Like, the gender pronoun and calling someone a pronoun is ridiculous. I use guys, dudes, and stuff to mean everyone. I don't say, hey, guys, and I don't go, oh, girls as well in the corner. I do as a joke now because that happens, but it's more a case of it's stupid. Guys, I call women dudes. I've been doing that for years. And people are like, oh, dudes is a male term. No, it's not. Since when?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I also called women dudes, and I will also refer to women as guys. There are many of them, but it's like there are women who got all offended. It's like, well, why are you calling us guys? There's no guys here. We want to be called girls. And it's like, this is just so stupid and shit,
It's the same as like I remember the discussion. There was an argument about when someone calls someone a dick and then when someone calls someone a pussy. And it's like, right, so what you're saying is when you call someone a dick, which is the male genitalia, what you're saying is you're an asshole, which is the asshole one. And we're not going to get into that one because, but this is the thing. We use these terms because we know that if you say these things in society, that they are used as, they can just be used as jokes to a degree. They can be used as offensive. They can be used to shock people. Let's be fair. Because a lot of people still can't understand swearing. And think that it's like the worst thing ever, like the world's gonna crumble because I said fuck. Like it's the world that we live in. So it's like, but when you hear these terms and people going, oh, it's very sexist to call people a pussy because pussy means weak. Because when someone's being a weak or they're being scared, you'll say, oh, stop being a pussy. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. And it's like, but when someone's being an idiot or when someone's being just, bigoted and in your face, you'll call them a dick. So, I mean, we all have arseholes, but we all call people arseholes as well when they're being arseholes. And what do we mean by arseholes? In exactly the same way when they're being like a dick. But the only reason why is because when pussy is used, it's used to mean scared and fragile. And it's like, to be fair, when you look at things like the Ban Bossy campaign, you show a lot of really proud women who did things in their life, regardless of what they were called in life. Yet at the same time, you also sit there and say women are so fragile they can't take being called names. And in fact, I had this argument with a feminist yesterday, saying that she commented on my video saying that we need. In fact, it was the most baffling thing because we're talking about third wave feminism, and she says that third wave feminism is needed basically to a degree, but she understands how it can be extreme, but it's also needed. Actually, I think it was a male. It was called James. Sorry. So yeah. So James said that it was needed third wave feminism, but it's also extreme. And I was like, how is it needed to an extent, but it's also seen as extreme? Where do you draw the line? And he was like, I don't know where to draw the line. And this is the stupid thing, is it? But he's like, but I just feel that we should be looking towards equality and trying to make women proud to be women in society. So you're looking now towards only focusing on women's pride at the same time as saying that this is for equality. What about male pride? What about, hey men, you can come out and talk about when you've been sexually assaulted because no one's going to laugh at you, even though you're a man, because this shit does happen. These are things that need to be looked at as well. And that's my whole stance when it comes to feminism, is that feminism focuses so much on female shit. When I look at men's rights advocates and I look at their videos, it's mostly about shit that is actually not a right by law that men have. And that's why it's so fucked up. This is the thing. This is why it baffles the crap out of me, is because if feminists were real, they would also fight for the men's rights advocates. They wouldn't push them away like they were misogynist cunts. They would look at them and go, shit, you're actually fighting for what we're fighting for, the advocacy of rights for equality. But it's not the advocacy of rights for equality, it's the advocacy of women's rights on the ground of equality. And that's why it's bullshit, because they do not own, and like Chris Reagan said in his video, I think from yesterday or the day before, they do not have a monopoly on equality. They don't. There are fucking tons of ideologies that promise equality at the end of it. It's bullshit. It is absolute bullshit that you can say that but only advocate for one side. It is as almost a sub-ideology of egalitarian. And the only reason why I go with egalitarian is because it is that default position. I'm not an MRA, because I believe in the equality of everyone. I'm not a feminist because I believe in the equality of everyone. Not saying that rights aren't fought for men that have to actually be done. With feminism, it's stupid because I can only look at feminists that focus on other countries. It's as simple as that. So I'm rambling now about feminism. Jesus. Just woken up and had a smoke. Sorry, Rin.
Oh, you need a smoke right quick?
No, I'm all right. I've got it here.
Yeah, I really hope that. I was thinking, I hope your cigarette is nearby then.
No, it's one of those. I've woken up and had a smoke, so I'll have a little bit of a ramble in the morning.
Do you think that England is heavily influenced by feminism?
Yeah, actually, I do. There's several reasons why. We actually have a ukfeminist.com, I think it's called, as a website. We have a mayor that is a feminist. We have 2 places of work now, one that's trying to adhere to the wage gap law, one that's giving period leave to women because, they need it. Feminism's massively been taken on board by Britain. And I think I used to laugh at it when I saw it in America and thought, they'll clear that up. Then it hit fucking universities and I was like, shit. And it was a real changing point. The moment that this shit's getting into education, it's just like if I see someone going, yeah, it's okay for us to now read the Bible and believe it's real and read the Bible in science class and shit like that. And it's like, no, it's religious education. It's not science class. You need to realize the difference between science and religion. They are separate on many levels. People who try and put them together always come out wrong when you read into the science. Just like I think I watched, I was reading, something about that quantum mechanics proves the existence of God. And it proves the existence of God by saying that the reason that an electron around the nucleus of an atom stays there is because of solidified light. That non-existent solidified light. Solidified fucking light. When I heard that term, I was like, wow, that's reaching. That's really reaching. Oh, wow.
Well, scientists speak. Oh, sorry. Do you want to finish that?
No, carry on, Ren.
Scientists did come up with something called the God particle.
Yeah, no, the God particle. No. The God particle is a term that was coined because it means the Higgs boson. The Higgs boson adds mass to things, and because the Higgs boson adds mass to matter, it is seen as the God particle, but it's not. You've also got, oh no, sorry, no. You know what? I'm wrong. Actually, I think the Higgs has been called the God particle, but another one that has been called the God particle is the Weyl fermion particle. The Weyl fermion basically, let me get this right, creates electrons. It can actually just create electrons from a singular source of the Weyl fermion particle. That is what it's believed to do. It's only been evidenced at the moment within the Hadron Collider, but it's something that has been at least discussed since about 1932, I think it is, if I'm correct on the date. I do enjoy my quantum physics, so when I read into this science shit, it's like Christians trying to prove Christianity with quantum physics, I find it hilarious. But yeah, it's one of those things, like the Weyl fermion particle is also seen as a God particle, just like the Higgs boson particle is, because one adds mass, the other one can add electrons to nucleuses and stuff. And it's quite beautiful when you think about it. I find it quite but it's like you could technically call antimatter and matter God particles, because, well, they come into existence and annihilate one another, which one of my favorite discussions is the antimatter and matter. Because of the fact that we know that they have to be in balance with one another, but if you look around you, there seems to be a lot more matter. So do we have dense parts of the universe that are filled with matter, or because of on the event horizon of a black hole, where antimatter and matter are basically split on the event horizon where Hawking radiation happens, and it will take on. And if that is a uniformed thing, if it is, which I don't think it would be in the universe that we know to be very uniform like that, but let's say if it was uniformed and basically black holes only took on antimatter and matter basically therefore got away from this reaction happening when both came into existence on the edge of a black hole, then yeah, basically that could end up the other side of a black hole. I know it's just dense gravity and light can't escape it, but it's just like a sun to a degree, where even though sun produces light and has gravity, things can still orbit it without having to be brought into it until if it hits the event horizon. It's not like a vacuum cleaner. It's just one of those. It has gravity that you will move around, and it's when I think about it, that like anything because I used to have loads of theories on black holes, like if everything is crushed to the point where it becomes nothing, and we know black holes have solar nurseries and stuff next to it, and if you have solar nurseries, then imagine a black hole crushing everything to nothing more than the smallest atom, which is, as we know now, hydrogen. So imagine everything is broken down to the smallest atom of hydrogen, and then over time hydrogen can obviously clusterfuck together with its own microgravity of its nuclei, and therefore snowball to an effect of stars and stuff, and then from stars they become black holes themselves, because stars but this takes billions of years and stuff like that. I'm not talking like something that happens overnight, obviously. But yeah, science is beautiful. Obviously these are all just massive like hypothetical things that I've thought about when looking these things up, because they're quite beautiful.
Yeah, it is interesting because the universe keeps expanding, and I think that dark matter keeps, or what's it called? I think it's called dark matter keeps expanding, and it keeps growing. And the universe, as you get to the edge, it keeps going faster and faster and faster. But it's hard to explain it because it's been a long time. But I think it's like that. But it's been a long time since I watched a YouTube video on it.
Yeah. I know with dark energies, like, because this is the thing, the expanding universe, like, are we being pushed or pulled? So the dark matter on the outside of the universe could be pulling us towards it, like, but it's also ever expanding the universe from essentially an infinite point. I mean, if everything came from a big bang, which was an infinite point, why would that infinite point that we've not found yet or whatever still not be going if it's an infinite point? There's so many ways of looking at it, and then you've got the elastic theory where everything gets to a point where it starts contracting the universe and it comes back in and everything goes backwards, and there are loads of different theories and hypotheses, and it's I like all of them. I like looking up to them, but that's the best thing to do, is look out there and look at your things. It's the reason why I like looking at different religions as well, because then you start to realize, at least know why you don't believe in something, or have an interest in it for a reason. Like, and I can understand people having an interest in religion, but devoutly following it, but not devout, but while also cherry picking the holy book that you apparently read. That baffles the crap out of me as well.
Oh, the vast majority of Christians don't even know it's in the Bible. Like, at least in America, you could go and walk up to like any Christian, and they don't really know the Bible all that well. The weird thing is, atheists know the Bible far better than Christians do. Are you still
Yeah.
there? Or did you leave?
Sorry, I'm still here. Sorry, I've just I clicked onto my Twitter and I've just got a lot of I've got someone who's trying to debate me at the moment. I think about it's just something that I posted today. Video of a guy getting basically it's a video that started after a guy getting shot in his car by the police, and she's like, "Oh well, you know, it's one of those things," and it's just like, and this guy's like, "Oh, you're against Black Lives Matter," and it's like, no, I've posted the video, and I think all I've said on it. 1 second. Sorry, give me a moment. Load. Where is it? Yeah, I posted a bit today. It's put. It was a joke because this guy was shot by an Asian police officer. So I was like, Asian cops and their privilege. The lesson learned: don't say I have a gun and license and then reach. Because that's the thing. The guy was like, I've got a pistol on me and I've also got a license, and he reached for it, and the cop went, stop. He went, freeze, stay still, and then the guy's brought his hand back up, and the woman says it in the video, and then the guy opened fire. The Asian cop shot him. Right? And he shot him in the arm, and the guy's in the car, and she's like, oh, I hope he's not dead. But from the way that she seems in the van, it doesn't seem like he's dead. He's been taken to hospital by an ambulance, and she seems to be screaming and getting really, over the top about it. But the fact is that, to be fair, I live in Britain, but in a country that owns guns, yeah, as a cop myself, when you have at least when you know that people are going to shoot you and stuff like that, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if someone says I have a gun and a license and reaches down, I'm gonna go, whoa. As a cop, imagine being a cop in that situation, and someone says I've got a gun and my license, just gonna get my license. What would you do? I'd be like, whoa, freeze! That's your job to have the authority and say no. I mean, if the guy would have kept his hands up and said, I'm just letting you know, I've got a license and a pistol, but I have a license to carry. And the officer went, okay, keep your hands in plain sight and get out of the vehicle so we can check, then fine, fair enough, that's fine. But no, you've seen this from the aftermath of he's already been shot. So you're only actually hearing it off what she said. And actually from what she said, it still works down that path of, she actually says, well, he said he had a license, he said he's got his gun, and then he's reached to get his license. What? And then he's brought his hand back up and he shot him. And then the officer said, don't move, freeze, and then he's brought his hand back up and he shot him. And he's like, well, yeah, freeze. Sorry, but at that point, you shouldn't have reached. You should have just kept your hands on the wheel. I'm pretty sure that's a very standard thing in America, isn't it? Keep your hands on the wheel. I'm pretty sure you're taught that in schools, actually. Keep your hands on the wheel when you're stopped by a police officer. Why? Because it just makes it easier. It's a smoother thing. It's a smoother ride. Don't say I have a pistol and a license and reach for it. That's dumb. But the point I was making in my joke is Asian cops and their privilege, because obviously Asians, actually, if you're talking privilege and how much they earn in comparison to anyone, you would say if you're working on that stupid basis, they have the most privilege in America because they are the biggest earners, we would say. It's so dumb. Seriously, but this is the whole point. So I've just taken a joke and I've got Asian cops and their privilege. But the lesson learned is don't say I have a gun and license and then reach. So the point I'm making is you can't blame this on white people. You also can't blame this on black people. So I've looked at the scenario objectively and seen what it is. And what I've seen that it is that this man has said he's got a gun and a license and reached. That's what's happened. And then he's been shot after because the cop said stop and then he put his arm back up. I just couldn't fit all that into my Twitter because Twitter's a cunt when it comes to typing this out, especially when you've got a link as well. I've not worked out how to do that yet. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I've just come across him responding to that. My apologies. Continue with the interview. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that guy does sound like really ridiculous because, I mean, if you tell a cop you've got a gun, then of course the cop wouldn't want you to make any sudden movements. Of course, cops want you to keep your hands where they could see them.
And then she talks for about 9 minutes. And then when she's in the back of the police van, she's like, we got pulled over for a broken tail light. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. You got broken over for a broken tail light. But you've said that on here. We haven't seen you get pulled over. And I'm sorry, but we haven't seen that. And hopefully some police camera reports might come in later. I could be completely wrong on this. It may be a broken tail light and it may be a bit of an extreme reaction. But from my point of view, that this guy has had shots fired on him, right? He's mentioned he's got a gun and a license. 7.5 minutes into the video, I smoke weed myself. So I'm not even, it's not like I can have a bias against someone who's got weed. But when you also say, oh yeah, and we had some weed in the car. Yeah, you mentioned that now that you're in the back of the police van, fucking much later on, apparently you also had your kid with you, And you also had this guy with you, and you've got weed in the car. So were you smoking the weed in the car, or did you just have a small bag of weed in the car, or like, is it illegal in that area? So is the guy, when you opened up the thing, did it stink in the back of the car? You had a child with you as well, right? Which is messed up that more fires opened up, but you've just said, I've got a gun and a license. And even with a child there, the Asian police officer has still taken the point to actually go and opened fire. He's not thinking at this moment in time that, oh, think of the children and think of the people and the Black Lives Matter. No, he's thinking, this bad guy's just told me he has a gun and he's just reached, and I've told him not to. And he brought his hand back, and then he moved, and I said, freeze, stay still. To be fair, he's done his job, and that's actually just from what she said, right? We've not heard radio reports for anything. This is actually just her, the person who is against the police officer, and from listening from what she said, sounds quite reasonable to me what happened. But I've posted this video, and someone's now gone, oh, yeah, because I'm obviously an anti-feminist, and obviously I'm anti-Black Lives Matter, when actually I'm more anti-every life matter, so it's just dumb anyway. Plus, Black Lives Matter is stupid considering how many white people are shot in America by police officers in comparison to black people. It's just dumb. Like, it's just like, it's something like, what, 80% to 20%? It's like stupid to sit there and it's like, okay, so when white people get shot, no one cares. But who cares? It's one of those things. It's so dumb. It's just the most stupid thing now that someone's realized from what I've posted. It's like, huh, you're anti-Black Lives Matter. No, the point that I'm pointing out is this guy got shot. And I know it might turn into a Black Lives Matter thing because that's kind of what happens. And right off the bat, I just want to kind of say I've watched the whole fucking 10-minute video and most of it is fucking a blank staring at the sky and then in a handbag and really hard to hear. But if you pay attention to it, everything that she says is the police officer did his job. This guy said, I've got a gun and a license. Sorry, you've just told me you're armed. But I've got the right to carry it. Doesn't mean shit to me. Doesn't mean you haven't got the right to use it as well at this moment in time. Your right to carry does not mean that you won't use it just because you have a license to carry. Fuck. Didn't the guy who shot up people in Orlando get a license to get the gun? He was allowed to get the gun from a shop and he shot people. We know guns can hurt people. And I hate people going, oh, it's the person. And that's the thing. I'm not saying it's the person. I'm saying at this moment in time, you've been told by this person that he has a gun. And you've just said, hey, like, reach for your, like, can you show me your license and registration? Even if he's had a broken taillight, he's then gone, I've got a gun on me and also my license. And he's gone like, you know, and then obviously the police officer's like, whoa, you got a gun? He's like, I've got a license to carry. And it's like, I'll look at that later, mate. Sorry, I know I would. I'd be like, I'll look at your fucking license to carry. If he's completely correct, why are you, like, you can be slow about it. This is the thing. It's like people rush. I don't even think this cop was panicking to a degree. I actually think he wasn't panicking to a degree. I think he's being fair going, like, and in this small space of time, this guy may have gone, hey, I've got a gun on me, but I've also got my license, and then reached. But that you've got to give your dialogue of what's going on, the situation. The cop doesn't know. Got to treat him like an alien or something. You've got to literally go, right, I've got a gun on me, and I've also got my license. They're both underneath your viewpoint of my window, right? It's behind the door. Right, I'm keeping my hands in plain sight. You've got to talk reasonably to them and let them know they're in control. And if you're totally correct, you have nothing to worry about. I'm sorry, but you fucking don't. And I know people will be like, "Oh, well, what's her face? That I forget her name, Melissa Strand or whatever. Who was she was like stopped at the road and then she turned up dead in prison. Yeah, that's really fucked up. And you know what? It's all over the fucking media because it's really fucked up. It's not the Black Lives Don't Matter. That's really fucked up. Why did she just fucking die when she was just pulled over? And it's messed up. And if you see how the cop responded to her when he stopped her, he was totally wrong. Do I think that there are racist cops in America? Damn fucking right I think there are racist cops. Do I think there are a majority of not racist cops, though? Yes. Do I think there are racist cops, though? Of course I do. Of course you're going to get cops that are racist. I'm sure in Britain you get cops that are racist. I'm sure everywhere you get cops that have prejudices to some degree. But you can't sit there and brandish all of them as the same. This is the problem with our world is we go, men are seen to be, the majority of men rape, all men are rapists. Okay? Majority of men, domestic abuse. So all men are domestic abusers. The majority of black people, are criminals, so they should all be criminals. No, it's not like that. The majority of cops are racist, so they should all be racist. So I don't believe that the majority of them are. I actually, but they'll say, okay, cops are racist, some of them, so all are branded racist. There you go. And it becomes that point now of just like, you actually apply the stereotype to reality now. And you make it about everyone. And that's the stupid thing. Like I tried to explain before, stereotypes exist in society. They do. But as well as existing in society, you don't actually have to apply them to everyone. That's the problem, is that people go, stereotypes exist, apply them to everyone. Oh, you're a white male, and that's why everyone has these freaking, I'm a white, cis, non-transgender male. Like, you've got to have this list of labels before you even go, oh, by the way, my name's Cognitive. You know, it's like you have to have this list of shit. And it's absolutely bullshit that you have to have. It's like turning up to someone and reading your entire fucking CV out. Like, it's the weirdest thing. But it's not. That's just your identifying as a gender, as a person. And it's just like, can I not just say, hi, I'm Cognitive Thought, and I identify as a human being? Mm-hmm. If you want to see me as white, go for it. Fine. I mean, I'm a light skin color. It's my melanin. But, you know, call me white if you want. I don't mind. I'll probably refer to you as black because if you are darker toned, mainly because of the fact that, you know, that's how the society has told me to recognize that color. It's again, not being gender aware and being racial aware. It's not actually being racist and sexist. You can be aware of these things. You have fucking eyes.
Yeah, the weirdest part is I now see white male, like it's been happening lately, like for the past 2 years, I think, that's white male has turned into an insult. I mean, the people who mostly use it as an insult happens to be white women. Sure, there are black people who use like white male as and it's who are black, but I mostly see white women saying white male as an insult.
See, I think one of the best things that I've seen recently was by Dr. Randa McCann, and Dr. Randa McCann talks about he shows a literal demonstration at a funeral where a guy's pointed out as a white nationalist, and then everyone starts surrounding him and moving him away. White, but this woman literally goes, "Can all of the white folks that are allies, like, please help to exclude this man?" Then this man walks into this guy and he literally goes, "Hey man, this is a place of love and inclusion. You're not welcome here." I mean, do these people hear themselves? It's crazy. And then these people, and this guy has not done anything. He's not even a white nationalist. He's just been branded because someone went, "Move your fucking," because this random weird fucking Asian man in a fucking dress shouted out, "You're a white fucking nationalist. Get your fucking ass out of here." And then like, but it's so funny. Dr. Ranakan goes through the video in so much detail. And it's so beautiful because like this guy who originally starts to push him away then realizes that he's actually like, he goes, "Oh, you just realized that you're actually fighting for the outpatient," who's just like started yelling and screaming for no reason. And he's like, and you see him literally hang his head in shame. And he's like, "Hang your head harder." Like, because he's like, he's realized, he notices he's really part, and he, like, you saw a brainwashed moment, and I can't even explain it. But then you have this other cunt who's like a white knight with no cause, basically. But like I say, watch Dr. Randa McCann's video on it. It's brilliant. It's the one where it's him in the corner and it says Randa McCann in the name, in the like the style of House's title, but it's brilliant. I do suggest you watch it. Like, but yeah, it shows that these things happen, and this is the thing, is that people don't even do it for just being feminist or anything. It becomes this. It's more a case of just this victimhood, or this, when you can add a label to somebody, we can section them off. And this is the disgusting thing, is as an egalitarian, it's not that I want to section people off. I only want to section them off to a degree, I suppose, if they're, I know I've just said I don't want to, but I do, but it's only when they're stupid and they're trying to perpetuate their stupidity. And it is stupid. You can't preach equality whilst also not having equal views on subject matter. How can you have, like, I fight for equality of human beings, right? Okay, yeah. So what are you going to focus on? Women, okay? Oh, no, we're also going to focus on black people's problems too. Right, okay. Oh, yeah, we're also going to focus on, you know, lesbian, gay, transgender. Anything to do with white male? Nah, fuck white male. They're way too privileged. What, so this isn't equality now. You've literally just branded your enemy. You've allowed people to have an enemy now to focus on, which kind of makes your ideology stronger to a degree, which is why I think egalitarian is built on mainly not just being an anti-feminist, but more the fact of just stupidity in general. I think egalitarians do look towards if Christians or Muslims or anyone is coming out with some inane bullshit, they will point it out and focus on it. So, like, I do the same with Islam as well when it comes down to the. I mean, you just have to read the Quran and then the Hadith written by Muhammad by Muhammad by himself in a cave when he couldn't read or write, and God gave him the ability to. according to the story. But yeah, it's one of these. It's like it's written, and then you have Sharia law, and people believe these things should be in place, and it's like, no, these things are wrong, and everyone's like, oh, stop blaming all Muslims. I don't look at things in absolutes like that. Stop it. That's the thing, is that feminists and everyone look at things in absolutes. You're a white male, therefore you're sexist, a rapist, and you're going to try and mansplain shit to me. This happens. Whereas as an egalitarian, I look at it as, no, I know there are feminists out there that also fight for advocacy of women's rights in places where they don't have them, and they're the feminists that I can agree with to a degree, but they know that when the advocacy of women's rights are advocated there, they probably won't need to be feminists anymore, and they won't, because they'll have the advocacy done. There is an end goal, there is an end solution. The end goal of egalitarian is the equality of everyone, and that isn't in the entire world yet, which is why I can focus on that. Whereas it also, to a degree, it's I believe there should be at least a discussion for someone who can't take stupidity. And I mean, when you see Kent Hovind trying to explain the Bible and fix it in with history when it doesn't, and trying to make it scientifically correct when it's not. The same with people trying to do the same with Islam. I've heard people try to do the same with making Islam and explaining the science behind Islam. But it's very similar to the Bible in that sense of the same sort of things they come out with. But they also use, obviously, there's a friend of me and my brother who basically says that the mountains keep the world pegged in place, and where the mountains peak, it will be deepest on where it fits into the planet at that point. It's like, we know that there's like a magma, like we're floating on magma, so it's almost the best analogy my brother had was, it's like having an ice cube inside water and saying the water is pegged down by the ice. It's not, it's floating on top of it. And it's one of those things. It's like, I really personally just can't understand when people try to make science fit with a religion. That's stupidity, so it'll be pointed out. I can't understand people who will defend the religion as a whole. Like, I know that there are Muslims out there that are just Muslim. All right, my ex-girlfriend was a Muslim that has never read the Quran, believes in but doesn't see a problem with homosexuals. She used to live with one. She has tattoos. She's eaten pork. Like, I've met Muslims like that have never read the fucking Quran, have no idea about the Hadith, have no idea about, literally have no idea about Sharia. Well, they have an idea, but they're in the West, and they're like, oh, Sharia law is wrong, but I don't agree with that. But it's part of Islamic teaching, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is Islam as a base thing starts off as a religion and an ideology. Okay, it then moves on to teachings such as the Hadith, teachings of Muhammad, and then also Sharia law, which is more of an actual law than a teaching. This is, you abide by this. Like, there's teachings that you can follow, I suppose, to a degree, and then but that's the thing. It's actually the ability to follow the teachings and to follow the Quran correctly can lead to you being a homophobic person, a person who will kill homosexuals because you know that it will send them to heaven and you're doing them a favor. And these are the things that can't be perpetuated. And in places with Sharia law, they get fucking hung in public. And this is the fucked up thing, is these things happen. And instead of focusing on these actual things that are happening in the world, we're focusing on the Western society and going, oh, not all Muslims. Like, fuck off. I don't give a shit about Western Muslims to a degree that cherry pick the fuck out of their thing and say it's okay. But do you realize that there are also Western Muslims that do agree with Sharia law? Fuck, they do agree with Sharia law. I know Western Muslims, like the guy who told me about the mountains that peg things into the ground. He believes that homosexuals are wrong as well. I know a lot of Muslims that see homosexuals as wrong and weird and abominations and unnatural. And it's like, what extent would you go to? If I told you and showed you in your Quran that technically it says kill them, if you believe your Quran correctly, would you do that? Or would you have this almost a conflict of your identity then, at least your ideological identity of, are you going to continue to be a Muslim because you may have gay friends and you don't want to kill them, or do you have to now kill your friends to be in line with God? That must be a conflict in a lot of people's minds to a degree. But that's the thing. The conflict doesn't happen when you cherry pick. When you don't have to see it, you have no conflict because you're oblivious, you're ignorant to the fact. And that's all that I see a lot of people trying to do now. It's more rationalist. I think I do identify as a rationalist because it's that's definitely the one that I would go with. I know Crowton T has called me a rationalist a couple of times, and I do agree with what he says when he says that.
What aspects of feminism do you see in your country that you'd like to see change?
Aspects of feminism in my country? I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if it's American or British, but there's the feminist breeder, which is a website dedicated to feminists who want to have children, you know, because it's not wrong to have children when you're a feminist, because who's going to bring up the next wave of feminists? It's literally kind of promotes indoctrination of feminism within children, while also saying it's okay, even though and the reason why it says it's okay is because it also knows that parts of its branches of feminism don't agree with the gender role of being a mother and a wife, so therefore don't have children. It's so dumb. But in my country, personally, it would be that the wage gap that is, I forget the company that it is, but I know Sugar Tits did a video on it. The wage gap that is in the wage gap adjust or tax, I think it's called. That's it. The wage gap tax that is applied to women in this company, where men, regardless of what area of part of like the job they are, you could be the fucking coffee lady and you're going to get paid the same as the manager. You'll get the wage that's equal to his, and everyone will get that balance. And they've worked out the percentage that they're paying basically the percentage of difference to every woman to balance it out. It's ridiculous. So so everyone's going to be paid the same wage there, which is technically breaking the Equality Act of 2010. I'd like someone to look at that, because I know Spinosaurus Kin fucking did, and his appeal and his well, it wasn't just an appeal actually. His Spinosaurus Kin tried to do a what was it now? I forget what it's called. A petition. He tried to get a petition together to get it signed, and they won't allow him to put the petition, even though it's breaking the fucking law. I'd like that to happen. I'd like to see a fucking petition allowed that we can at least vote against this, because it is breaking the law. And that happens in Britain. So I'd like the law to stop being broken in Britain when it comes to the equality of wage between men and women, which is not happening in a certain company. And I'd also like it if women didn't have period leave, or if they are allowed period leave, men should be allowed to choose a week of the month that they're also allowed off, or a few days off that they want to take off. I think that should just be allowed. If women are allowed so much time off a month, then men should be allowed so much time off a month, just to de-stress. I think everyone is technically allowed time off. We already do have time off. If you work 40 hours a week and 5 days a week, then out of a month of, say 4 weeks, and you're going to have 8 days off in a weekend, let's say, or 8 days off consecutively. I'm pretty sure by law it's usually consecutively within the week. So you're going to always have like 8 days off and 2 days off a week where you can relax. So it's 8. So you literally have a week off a month. They have now got this week off a month plus a paid week off. I would like to have a paid week off too. I would love to work 3 weeks, 3 weeks of the month, and then also have my other, 8 days off that I have to have every week anyway, because, you have to have 2 days off a week. I'd love to have that, and then get paid for at least 5 days of it. That'd be great. To work 15 days a month and get paid for 20. That's great. Anyone else with me? Vote for that campaign. Equality of the sexes. If women get period leave, men should. There you go.
From the way you talk about England, I mean, I don't know what you're thinking, but from your description, it sounds like England is a feminist, a female supremacist country, because, I mean, paid period leave, that's got to go. You can still work.
I'm pretty sure, like I say, it's only in certain companies that it's been implemented to a degree. I'm not sure if it's countrywide, because I know that my girlfriend doesn't get it, but I'm pretty sure that it's just in certain companies. But these are illegal acts. That's the problem. And it's not that it's even though that we do have a admitted. And it really baffles me that Sadiq Khan is a Muslim and a feminist, but he's a Muslim and a feminist because he's one of those moderate Muslims that they call them moderate Muslims, but I call them modern Muslims or millennial Muslims, whatever you want to call it. The one cherry-picking Muslims is the best term, actually, because it suits it down to the ground. He's a cherry-picking Muslim that's also a feminist. We also have a First Minister of Scotland who is also a feminist. That's Nicole Sturgeon, and she is also a feminist as well. And that's why we have a lot of bullshit going on there. But she has now got this thing with Brexit going on where she's probably there was a referendum for Scotland to leave England. And ages ago, before the whole Brexit thing and everything like that, ages ago, Goodfella did another thing saying, why are you trying to bring back another referendum? It's been 2 years and we said no. And as a feminist, you should understand that no means no. Okay? And we said, no, we don't want to leave England. That was the referendum. We voted no. 2 years later, you've not even let the fucking dust settle. Give it 10 years. Let the next generation decide or something. But no, 2 years down the line, you want another decision. And that has been held back a little bit because Brexit's happened. And now it has been repainted. because Brexit is now, well, it may be happening. It depends if they're going to completely go with it or not. We'll know when we know. Apparently they are at the moment, so we'll see over the next 2 years if we do or not. But if I don't know, it still can be they can still, cop out of it if they want to. So but the thing is, because what's happened with Brexit, Nicola Sturgeon has now got a new narrative, and the new narrative is let's stay with Europe and leave the UK. So now it's a referendum again, but it's to stay in Europe. And I feel really bad for Goodfella, because I know he voted Brexit, and he also voted to stay in the UK. So like he's going to have to basically move to the UK, which I'm sure he probably won't really have an issue with to a degree. I mean, you'd have to move and shit and do all that stuff, and he'd have to move away from his homeland, which I know must be shit. I mean, if you love it that much, but I mean, I don't know how much he loves it. He does show a lot of things, especially he sent me a pamphlet about these new representatives that people are going to be getting in their homes that represent their family and children, but your children represented as well. So like if you're and one of the things is your children is allowed to have his bedroom however he wants it. And he was like, are you fucking paying for this or me? Because I don't think the government's paying for this. So you're telling me that my kid can have his room however he wants and I have to pay for it? Fuck off. I will bring my kids up how I need to. It's fucking stupid. But yeah, these things happen. It's fucked up. That's the UK for you.
Yeah, it does seem fucked up. So when it comes to Brexit, what was your decision? Were you pro Brexit or were you pro Remain?
I was pro Brexit, and it wasn't for all of the bullshit fucking candidates that were part of it and stuff like that. The reason why I left Brexit is because I looked into the information, and even though there are pros and cons to a degree on both sides, I just felt there were more pros to leaving than there were cons. And it's one of those things, we always knew there was going to be a problem leaving Britain. Of course, there's going to be a lot of shit that's going to be sorted out. It's not just an easy transition to a degree. It's going to take a couple of years. But this is the thing, is that the EU has had a lot of regulations on us from the start. At first, I was pushed over the edge to go to Brexit after the new proposed EU conditions for online, but YouTube has brought in the TOS, those terms of service anyway, that we have to adhere to. So that kind of brought me back onto the fence. What took me over the edge was more a case of the fact that we can go to other countries and we can get cheaper produce. The pound has gone down in value. Give it one Christmas, it'll go back up because it's the fucking pound, and people will save money coming to our country to buy products. And we're not exactly a bad country. You've been coming to us for years. It's one of those things. It's like we can have the same prices on export and import to a degree, and if they change on export on import, then we'll change it on export because we will balance it out so that it works. I mean, we have control then over what's going on. We don't now have to we don't have to now adhere to the freaking toxicity regulations of the EU, which to a degree I actually agree with, but to the way that Britain implements it, I don't. So I agree with it, but the way because Britain is stupid at implementing it because it does it as a toxicity charge or it does it as a congestion charge, and I dislike that. But this is because they've had to adhere to something put in place by the EU to adhere to, and we have to keep to the EU regulation of toxicity regulation. And because they've had to do that, they bring in costs, and they've had to force it forward from a certain time point to now. Whereas if you're not paying like these regulations and charges that you'll get for going over the regulations, then do you really have to worry about that? When you have a lot of regulations in place, I'm pretty sure you have to pay fines to as well, for doing wrong. I know it's a bit of a bold assertion that I'm going to double check that, but I'm pretty sure we have to pay fines for going outside of the EU regulations. And I don't think that was brought up. I'm going to double check that. Give me a second.
All right. What do you think of the alt-right?
The alternate, this is what by alt-right. Do you mean like people that are very liberal to the sense of freedom of speech, but also a kind of authoritarianism? Like, because like I know that I always get confused when people say right and left, because apparently I'm a liberal right. I don't liberal left, I think, or something like. When I look at the moral compass, I'm down to the bottom left. Yeah. So I know it's left, but I think I'm a liberal left. So,
when I was talking about the alt-rights, I mean, those people like I'm alt-rights. I believe in white genocide. I believe that Black people have the IQ of 80. And...
Oh, do you mean just morons who are pure prejudice and judge people on color? Oh, those people. What do I think of them? I think they're a bit moronic, to have such a very small principle of basing their arguments. Like it's oh you're black. Well, that obviously means you've got a different cranium size, so your brain's different and smaller or whatever, and all this shit that they come out with. It's like, fuck, man, really? Like that's your argument? That's ridiculous. I know people who are white who are retarded as fuck. So, and what I mean by retarded is literally like they are brain dead to the degree of like they can barely make a sentence without going. And if you go, that was just word salad. What? Word salad? You know when you say a load of shit but you don't actually say anything? Yeah, one of those things. You just did that then. Like a brain fart of nothingness. But this is the thing: is these people exist, unfortunately, and yes, this is what a lot of people base their hatred on. People, but it's the sort of people that I'm pretty much against. So yeah, the people that judge willy-nilly on gender, race, or wanting genocide of these people as well because of their race or gender. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, like the white genociders are like, well, it's like genocide because they're allowing Muslims into the country, and black men are breeding with white women, and that shouldn't happen. And the white race should be esteemed because of interracial relationships.
Yeah, no, but it's stupid. It's like that's just dumb anyway on a genetic sense. Everyone knows that a genetic diversity trumps not having genetic diversity. I mean, you only need to look at inbred dogs, or as we call them, pure breeds, and look at the pure breeds and how fucked up they can be nowadays, because we know that it fucks you up to not have genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is a great thing. I know people that agree with me. Peach Bailey is one of them. So there you go. It's one of those. Genetic diversity is a great thing. It's one of those. It's not an issue to have it. Not saying that you can't settle down with a white person if you're white. Not saying you can't settle down with a black person if you're black. It's not an issue. You'll still have a degree of diversity within your genetics because of how fucking mass the population of people are. But like, it's by having let's say a mix, an interracial or whatever people call it, a mixed race relationship. Would you call it? I don't know. It doesn't change anything. You're still happy with one another. Nothing actually changes. The actual and when you have children, actually, you'll probably have some of the strongest and best bred children of the time to a degree, because you have that not cultural but more just a genetic diversity in general, and it is needed. It just is in an evolutionary sense. It's which I think is just scientifically proven. Like, even though I've got a white girlfriend and I'm white, oh, no, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just stupid. It's not like you still can't have a genetic diversity there, but you will get more genetic diversity from having someone who is another race from you, or, from someone who probably has a different hair color to a degree, or a different eye color. You're still going to have a genetic diversity, but it's just stupid that people think that that's wrong. To say that that's wrong is incorrect, scientifically proven. Seen as better, so it's just stupid to think that.
Yeah, you're talking about Peach. You're talking about that girl who made that video against Haruka. Is that the girl you're talking
Peach Bailey?
Huh?
Peach Bailey.
Yeah, I don't know her last name, but I do know that there's this mixed race girl in YouTube who goes by Peach, and
no. This is Peach Bailey. She's been on Bearing's channel and stuff like that, and she's just been shown on Beware of Darkness. She's a good friend. She's really good. She's got a great YouTube channel. She's got about 4,000 subs now. She's doing really well, and her content is brilliant. I've helped her to edit a video in the past as well when she's done a mistake on it, but it's one of those things. We've just had discussion offline, and she was explaining to me, and she understands it from that point of view, at least, of having a genetic diverse child if she's going to have children in the future. So it's like, and we were having that discussion, it's like, it's because it's scientifically correct. Genetic diversity makes it's better for a species in general, not just humans. A species, any species, genetic diversity is better. It just is.
Wait just a minute. Let me just screen share what I got right here. Wait, just hold on.
Perfect eyesight and a full head of hair.
I can't see anything on your screen. I just hear.
Hey guys.
When it comes to Peach Bailey, let me screen share what I got. Is this her?
I no, that's not Peach Bailey.
Oh, that's not her. Oh,
Type in into your if you want to type into your YouTube there, Peach Bailey. It's Peach and then Bailey spelled Balie. You'll know who she is. You may even have her, I don't think you've had her on the show yet, but she is. If you
oh,
can,
is
she's
there
lovely.
B-A?
Yeah, that's her, Peach Bailey. Oh, nice one. It comes up first. Go on, Peach.
Oh, that's her. Oh. Thank you.
Bailey's awesome.
I never heard of her, but because the way you describe her, it made me think of Peach because she's into anthropology and she talked about genetic diversity. And I know I've heard about genetic diversity before, where if a white person got with a black person, it is better for the offspring because there's better genetic diversity. That means like you could like mixed race people are better at avoiding certain illnesses. Like let's just say that an illness is very dominant in the black race, but it's not the like it doesn't affect white people though. Then if you have a mixed race child, then it could improve their health, because some diseases affect black people and some diseases affect white people. But if you have a mixed child, then they could avoid diseases, something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. I'll get to the questions.
Kevin in the chat has just inboxed me on Twitter as well. I'm going to retweet out the thingy again to see, just, because there might be some people awake on Twitter now, so I'm going to retweet it out.
Oh, yeah.
Carry on as well with what's going on.
Yeah, it did help like more people see it. So like if you could just like, if you want to link it out of Twitter again, that would be.
No, I'm doing it right now. It's I always do this. I do it when it's on my own shows as well. It's like it's one of those things. It's just because people come onto Twitter late on, and then it just gets lost in the feed. So you've got to do it. It's one of those.
Yeah. Do you wish more British people were interested in politics?
Not really. I actually wish more British people were interested in science.
Oh,
I actually mean like quantum physics and stuff as well to that degree. Like I know a lot of people that I like in Britain that are just, if I try to talk to them about science, they're just gone. They don't get it. They just don't understand. Like I can baffle them just by explaining when I say a nucleus of an atom and an electron, they're lost. And it's just like fucking hell. You're trying to explain hydrogen to them and they're just lost. And it's like when it comes down to actually politics and stuff. To the degree I'd like people to be more interested in politics, I to be fair, I personally need to be. I do feel like I need to be educated a lot more in certain politics. Like when it came to Brexit, I was basically learning everything before, but I was like, holy crap! And I probably spent about 2 months debating over it myself because I don't just come up with an opinion. I have to look through all the different things, and people were sending me things from both sides. So it was easier to look at the idea to stay because it was massively and heavily advertised in Britain. So it was like a massive propaganda thing of just stay in Britain. So there was always I probably know more about the leave. I probably know more about the Remain camp and their propaganda than I do about the leave. And that's what I mean. And even with only knowing so much about the leave, I've come to my decision based on the fact that most of the stuff, it was just like, some of the stuff I looked at from the Remain, I was like, well, that's just wrong. And then stuff I looked at from that, so I didn't even have to look it up. I was just like, no, I know that's wrong. Then you go to the leave, and I was like, right, okay, let me have a look into that. Oh, actually, that's correct. Oh, so that defeats that. Oh, brilliant. And that's the thing. And then you move on. And it's very, very simple process of doing it. But at the same time, you've got to allow yourself to be open to both sides and at least take them on board. That's how it should always start. The only reason why I can even listen to feminists and talk to them. The only ones I can't talk to are rational ones that, for example, comment on my videos with no real constructive criticism. Just, oh, you're a hater. Oh, I wish you die. And yeah, you get trolls like this. But you feminists complain about these things, but you know how to act like them. So why do you complain about them? I don't complain about trolls. I don't really have an issue with people saying this on my thing. It's your freedom to say it. I mean, your argument is not constructive against the video, which only shows me that I'm more right. Because otherwise you'd say something about the video that wasn't constructive. or you'd make a video showing me how I was wrong. It's just it's very simple, but like I've done it with people's videos, people can do. But there's one thing you never see from a feminist community: you rarely see them debunking shit. You rarely actually see them debunking. You see them finding signs and symbols like anyone with a conspiracy tinfoil hat on. That's how it is. It's it's like you see Anita Sarkeesian. Oh, well, there's sexism in gaming. I'm sure you can find sexism in gaming. I'm sure you can find racism in gaming. I'm sure if you look hard enough, you can find it in any film you've ever seen. Racism, sexism, you can. I'm sure you can find it if you're looking for it. But now you're telling me that I've got to believe it's there when I don't. You're telling me I've got to believe the intentions of these producers, artists, that they were all sat there sexistly going, let's degrade women by showing them with big boobs and breasts. That's stupid. It's the weirdest thing as a concept. Where I can. That's the videos that you will get from feminism is going, here's the problems with society that no one can see. Oh, why can't you see it? Because it's not there. And all I show is that it's not there. And the reasons why you see these things and why they're not actually gender bias issues, or when it comes down to it, actually something that is, what the artist was going for in their thing. And even if they were going for a beautiful looking fantasy model, is it really a fucking issue? That it's fantasy at the end of the day. What's the problem with fantasy? I mean, if I create a big fat like ogre with snot dripping off him and stuff, does that mean that I'm against fat people now because he's big and fat? No, I was thinking of an ogre. That's all I was doing. But you've now associated that with the fact that there are actual people out there that are huge people that could be considered as ogres to a degree. You're now saying that I was looking at them. And in my opinion, no, I wasn't, because at least I'll make my ogre stand on his own 2 feet and not put him on a little scooter. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, it reminds me of Dark Matter. It's just in his Dark Antics channel where he did a parody where he's talking about how the world is against bald people and how people are bald shaming and how he picked out all these bald villains. I don't know if you've seen that.
I'll have to check it out. Is it on his Dark Matter channel, or is it on the other one?
It's on his Dark Antics channel where you actually get to see his face.
That's pretty cool. I'll have to check it out.
It's really good. You should check it out. And you said earlier that you wish that more people were interested in science. Now, that is a very unique answer. You are the very first person to give an answer like that. So do you want to go into details about that? Like, what do you want people to know? And just please.
I think when it comes down to the fact of how many people are religious, most people don't like to pay attention. But there are a lot of people that at least go. I think in Britain there's a lot of people that believe in God and a heaven, but they don't actually go to church or they actually follow the Bible or anything, but they just believe in a God and a heaven. Which I feel like if they knew more about science, they'd realize that it's a God and a heaven are unnecessary. You can have them there, fine, in your mind. I mean, you don't believe a religion or anything. You literally just assert they exist without actually having any evidence of them. But I mean, when you realize that gods come from religions and gods come from man, and man, a lot of the shit man has come up with where he's, said gods existed has been debunked. And we've got a few religions left over that have also been heavily debunked. I think only looking into science disproves it alone. Now, you can go and find a Bible that says, or find a website, that says that you can find science within these holy books. But I think when you understand the actual science more, you'll realize how much of a stretch they're making to make this fit. And there are huge stretches. I mean, when you realize that, because this is the thing, we have, unfortunately, things like terms like you say, the God particle. And the God particle is the worst term ever because it almost kind of goes, yeah, this particle is like could be what God is, yeah. And I think a lot of religious people took that on board as maybe God could be this particle that allows things to have mass. And but it's stupid. I mean, because it's one of those things. The thing that I love about the Higgs boson is the fact that Higgs gives mass. But essentially, the reason why things go at the speed of light is because light particles and photons don't have mass. Anything going less than the speed of light, we can at least pick up on to a degree. Even neutrinos, we can at least detect with massive chunks of ice with holes bored and drilled into it, so that we can, and sensors put inside, so that as it hits the ice, it goes slower and it slows down the neutrino, and that's how we capture neutrinos coming from distant stars. But then again, you can have neutrinos that come from your stomach if you eat a banana because it's potassium. And as the potassium breaks down in your body, you produce neutrinos. When neutrinos have got information in them that tell us where they've come from or how long they've been there, and there's loads of little things they can find out about them. But why can we see it and detect it? It's because it moves slower than the speed of light. We can detect light. We can't go at its speed, and we can. And a photon, to a degree, is an understanding that light is a particle and a wave, and that's just because it makes sense to be a particle that is a wave, and it's weird the particle wave duality of light. But this is the thing. But as I get into this, people get confused and baffled, and I know I'm tangenting off into little things, but in my mind, these are all I'm doing is just going through different particles and different parts of life, basically, essentially, that because people have like. When people come to the conclusion that the Earth is young, for example, and I know a guy that I used to work with who was a Catholic who believed that the Earth was 6,000 to 7,000 years old, 7,000 based on the Jewish calendar or Torah or whatever it was he said it was, but it's 6,000 to 7,000 years old, we'll say, and he believed this, and I said you need only look at light from the distant stars to realize that you're wrong, because the light has to travel from those stars to reach us. And because we know how far away the stars are, we know that that's how far the light's had to travel. Like you're talking, what is it, 40? I always forget. It's something like 4 or 14 billion light years away or something ridiculous, or 140 billion. It's been a while since I've looked at that statistic, but it's far. It's a lot more than 6,000, 7,000 years. And this is the thing. Ken Ham is one of the most retarded people I've heard give an answer to this. Because he explains that, well, we know that, gravity bends light, and therefore, as a light. So basically, and that's his answer. If you've ever watched his, a lot of people have. If you've watched his debate with Bill Nye, he actually says that light bends before it gets to us. Bill Nye gave it the best answer. He said this is light traveling in a straight line. It takes this long. You're now telling me it takes curves and goes around corners. That's your answer? Your answer is worse, is that it actually takes a longer route, and that's why it's a shorter time, and we don't know the time is because it takes a longer time? Well, we've given you the shortest distance from A to B. You're now giving us the longer version. You're now saying that it went down a wiggly path instead of the Roman road. It's ridiculous. In fact, it's one of the little myths. This is an example that I give you of people not understanding science. When I say to people it's a very, very, very simple. And you'll know now hopefully from the context of where I'm going, you'll understand the actual answer to this, but it's a very simple riddle, and it's not a riddle because it's just reality, but it's a riddle the way that you write it. So it goes like this. A neutrino can get from A to B quicker than a photon of light, but the photon of light is moving faster than the neutrino. Why? And this is what I usually say to people, and people that are knowledgeable about science will give you the answer because they'll understand it. And then people that aren't knowledgeable about science will just go, I don't know. And it's like, well, think about it. Take 2 seconds. The Roman roads. How do you get what have I told you? The only information I've given you is it gets from point A to B quicker. And why would one's moving faster than the other? And the one that's moving faster gets there in less time. But if it's moving faster, what's the only other variable I've got? I've given you point A to point B, right? The same distance, okay? You've got how it travels, okay? And you know the time that it's traveling in is faster. Regardless of how fast, it's faster. So that's your time that you're given. Your space is not what you're taking on board. And the space is the space that it's moving through. And this is what people don't get, is it's very simple fucking understandings to go, oh yeah, well, a photon of light is obviously moving in a wave. And because it moves in a wave, it takes a longer path to get from A to B than the neutrino that moves in a straight line. The beauty of physics, eh? And it's very simple answers. And the thing is that's what we know, that photons move faster than neutrinos. But we've thought at first that neutrinos move faster because they got from point A to point B quicker. But by knowing they move in straight lines and photons move in waves, we learn. And it's like, but I think it's a very simple concept and a very simple thing to ask someone, is because it's one of those basic mental puzzles that it's just like, what information have you given me and what do I need to find out from this, or what's missing from that? And I think it's a skeptical person, or at least a person with a rational mind, always looks for what information are you missing from this discussion, or what can I at least infer from the information that you've given me? That's it. And you can only infer to the point of I haven't got, but you can at least, you have to be honest and say, but I don't have all the information. I think that's a very honest standpoint to have. And I hate these people. That's why I can't stand religion, is because the religion inherently believes it has all of the information. My problem with it, it believes it has all the information. It literally asserts a heaven and a hell. It asserts a God. It asserts a creation of the universe. And that is incorrect to do when you don't know, and you really don't fucking know. And in fact, your answers for creation and history are wrong. To be blunt. But your assertion of heaven and a God is completely correct. Still, no, sorry, you can't tell me what's going to happen after life. Like I can't tell you what's going to happen after life.
Do you believe that Christianity and feminism are similar?
I believe ideologies are always similar to a degree. And I believe that I would say actually, I actually see religion in general, not just Christianity, but religion in general is very similar. Feminism is very similar to a religion. You've got your holy book, the dictionary, and all of its, all of its definitions, but we cherry pick it. We don't read all the definitions, communism, and, we don't go down the path of actually reading other ones. We just read our definitions and the definitions we like. They add words to their holy book. So they've reformed it with mansplaining and stuff. They've almost kind of tried to reform their religion. They indoctrinate children into saying that they have a very simple premise, like religion does. Religion is, you believe in, you want to go to heaven after you die, right? You want to go to a better place, yeah? You want that. You want to be a good person, believe in God, because God's the one who will judge you when you die, and you want to be a good person under only the eyes of God. Whereas feminism looks at it as, feminism has its own Satan, the patriarchy. So, that mythical thing that exists, but it's always doing all the bad things in society. The devil is patriarchy. There are so many similarities, it's ridiculous. What was the one that I just said then before the patriarchy, sorry, of how women, feminism does indoctrinate people. Feminism's positive view of, do you believe in equality? Well, you're a feminist. No, and as Chris Reagan said, you don't own equality, the idea of equality. You don't have a monopoly on that, and he's completely correct. And yeah, but in many, many ways, not just Christianity, but feminism is like a religion. But in like every religion has its own little differences, and it's like a religion with its own little differences. That's all it is. But it's also an ideology. And all of them are ideologies too.
What do you think of the string theory?
String theory. To be fair, I have no issue with string theory because essentially it's a theory that could happen. It could not. I mean, everything could be made out of the smallest of strings that you can't really even see to an extent. I mean, we're still discovering particles that we have only thought about. We're still finding. We found a pentaquark, which I found was just beautiful to behold. But it's like we keep finding these things, and to be fair, I think when it comes down to believing string theory or not believing string theory, it's the same as believing in a possible afterlife, heaven or hell. And when it comes to a God, you can believe in a God. I'm not saying you can't, but when it comes to a God that is written or at least described by a holy book, it's going to be wrong because it's written by man. And it also probably has a type of creation which doesn't fit with reality. But when it comes down to just believing in an actual God, like let's say a God that created everything and sat back, fair enough. I can understand that as a God that basically started everything from Higgs boson particles and all that stuff that you need to create stuff and then sat back. There's no need for him. But at the same time, you can't assert that he essentially doesn't completely exist. You can under like, religious belief. But when it comes down to just an existence of a being or being inside a being and being this very small, let's say, molecule in a being to a degree, there's no evidence either way. So it's the same for string theory is one of those. There's I suppose, I mean, if it's called string theory, I suppose it's not a hypothesis because there's at least evidence to support it. And I need to look into string theory a little bit more than I know. I know of it, and I know it's about everything being connected by little strings, and I need to go way more into detail into it. And I'm sure if it's a theory, it will have at least some credible sources to give it its credibility, and its merit. So, but from a point of view, I think it's got just as much reason to support it as to say that we live in a universe that isn't based on string theory and isn't made out of little strings. I think it's an equal side of yes and no. I think when it comes to these things, you're allowed as a human being to play with these ideas. That's why I kind of stand against religion, where you can't play with these ideas. Like, you can tell me that you believe in a God or a heaven, but if you're okay with me totally not believing in your God and a heaven, that's fine. That's fine by me. That's an equal society. You can believe whatever bullshit you want. But when it comes down to believing something out of a holy book that's definitely wrong because we do have the science to prove it wrong, you can't do that. That is pretty stupid then. That is just being very, very ignorant to the information age that we have. And that's my problem with actual structured religion. But when it comes down to just believing in a God, believing in a heaven and a hell, I don't know what's afterlife. It could be reincarnation. It could be anything. We don't know. To assert it is stupid, but to put it into a holy book and say that it is asserted as true because you also know these other things that are true and God's correct and he is there, that you assert it's correct without proof. Do you know why it's called string theory? It's a theory. Highly evidenced, very, very possibly true. Gravity is still a theory. Do you know what I mean? It's not completely true. We don't know everything about it. It's the basic question, which is how much percent of the universe, how much information or percent in a percentage, how much information of the universe do we understand or know? You can't put a percentage on that because you don't know how much of the universe we have to discover yet. It's just there are ways of looking at things that I think people try to put into boxes, and I think it's a little bit incorrect to do that personally.
So would you describe yourself as agnostic?
No, because I don't. Atheist is a default position of I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in a God. I don't believe that he needs to be given the credit for any of the stuff that I've heard. There is no other reason to believe in a God, okay, than the fact that man has created God through ideologies and religion over years. That's where the idea of God has come from, okay? And most ideologies have been debunked, seen as superstitious nonsense and bollocks, and just, we got to the top of Mount Olympus, gods weren't there, that's bollocks. But when it comes to, but religion has widened the goalposts of God over all the time. They always widen, and theists do it all the time. They widen the goalposts of God, and it's always to fit their religion. So it's not that I'm an agnostic in sense. I understand the concept of a God that possibly made Higgs boson particles and then fucked off the world and said, like, I'm working on other projects, or there's alien life other places. But this is the thing. The only gods that that's a God that I created. And I know I created that God because I created that God in my mind, thinking, well, I now know about human advances. And by taking that on board, I can now understand an idea of a God, but a God that therefore has a heaven and a hell and he's morally going to judge you and stuff. I don't believe he'd do that either to a degree. So having to believe in him is also irrelevant in my mind, having to actually believe in him. So therefore I don't believe in him because, or a God in general, because there's no need for it. It's like saying, you obviously, it's like saying that anyone who doesn't believe in a God you can also believe in the flying spaghetti monster, and therefore if you at least can see the concept of the flying spaghetti monster, does that not also make you an agnostic because you understand the concept of a God? No, I don't think you have to understand the concept to be considered an agnostic. I think you can be an atheist because you don't believe in a God at all. But at the same time, you can understand the concept of a possible God because you've thought about it. Doesn't mean you have to actually sit there and go, no, I believe in the possibility of one or not. I think I think personally, as a person who as a default position just doesn't believe in one, because I've seen what the belief in a God can do, and I don't think it's a good thing to even perpetuate the idea that there could be a possibility. That's a personal thing, though, because obviously in my life, I've been through the whole several branches of Christianity rigmarole because of family and stuff. So you see it, and I've had Muslim friends. You see how people are killed in the world still to this day because of religious beliefs. Not that there aren't just ideology beliefs that make people kill people, but when it's written in a holy book and that's seen as credible and at least righteous and condoned by God, that's wrong. So for me, it's more a case of, I don't consider myself an agnostic. I can understand the concept of a God. I get that, okay? But I'm not under any doubt of whether I don't believe or believe in a God. I don't believe in a God. I can come up with a concept. Anyone can do that. You can put flying spaghetti monster. You can call him fucking Superman for all you want. He can be your invisible friend. It doesn't matter. It's still something that doesn't actually hold water. It's like saying it's like an agnostic for me. How to explain it? It's almost like somebody saying, "Oh, I can't stand comic books," but you know Superman exists, yeah. So technically, you kind of don't like it, but you do like it. Do you see what I mean? It's like, oh no, I don't like it. Oh no, but you know of him. Just because I know of him doesn't mean I agree. And it's like, exactly, and that's the whole point. You can understand the concepts of a god, but you don't need to agree at all that he exists or that any god exists. And I don't agree that any god exists because there's no evidence for it, and therefore it literally is no more than a fantasy or at least a fairy tale. It's just made up. It's something you can make up. Man can create it. Rick and Morty doesn't suddenly exist in real life because Rick and Morty exists in a TV screen. Harry Potter doesn't exist because it's in a book. It's what you can look at. You can at least make it, but you can build a film adaptation of it. You can work off that concept of Harry Potter. You can make it into whatever you want. You can make it more real. You can really twist it. Of course you can. It's been created as an idea that was made by mankind. But yeah, when it comes down to it, that's why I see myself as an atheist. I just don't believe in a god, or at least an actual existence of one. But I can see the concept of one.
Oh, so you were a Christian at some points of your life?
Yeah. So I grew up in a Christian household, which went from Catholic to pretty much just full-on Christian, basically, born again Christian. And then it went from that to prosperity gospel following Christians, which is the Kenneth Copeland Creflo Dollar ministry sort of shit later on in life. These are my parents went through loads of different branches of Christianity and Catholicism, well, Catholics to Christianity and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a bit, for me, it was just kind of like, I grew up in a Church of England school, which was actually a multicultural school. I was one of the only white kids. I grew up with Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, all sorts, Hare Krishnas. They all went to my school, to be fair. It was in the middle of Manchester, like in a very impoverished area to a degree. I think it's kind of been done up now, but at the time in the 90s, I think a lot of places in outside the centre of Manchester were a little bit impoverished, but still Manchester. But it was in Whalley Range, and I went to a school in Whalley Range. And yes, and I went to, but we had a Church of England school that also celebrated Diwali, Eid, all of the different religious festivals that came up. They would support, and they would have celebrations and assemblies for them, and they were very multicultural in that sense. So I always grew up with this understanding of, how do I know that Christianity is right and the other religions are wrong? And I've always seen that as an audacious position to hold, that other religions are incorrect and yours is correct. I think over my life, when I tried to understand God and at least be fair enough, I kind of thought, well, maybe these are all different ports to just talk to God. But when you realize that all of these people believe that God wrote their holy book and their one's the correct holy book, then you realize that they're all as bad as each other. And the fact that they think that they're all better than one another is hilarious when you look at it from the outside perspective as an atheist, or even as an agnostic to a degree. You could probably look at it from that perspective of, how can you sit there and believe in a religion? I believe in a God by all means, but if you believe in the religion and the teachings of a holy book, then and you preach it and go to church and stuff like that, and you are a follower of that Christianity or Islam, your religion is defined by the holy book that it is, or the teachings of that religion. And unfortunately, Christianity has so many different types of holy book, which makes it even more fun, and so many branches of Christianity. Islam, to a degree, has different branches, but this is the funny thing, is their branches are based off the same actual book. Branches of Christianity, you have so many branches off a singular book, fair, but then you also have so many branches off the singular book, because you have versions of the Bible. The Quran, when it comes to versions, you have English, Urdu, Arabic, and you have different language versions, whereas Christianity in its Bible has more like the Nivea Bible. You have the Ronnie Knox version of the Bible. You have, God, I'm just trying to think now, because the Lativia, what's it for? I forget what they call it. I'm now sat here. I know I've had my children's Bible growing up. I think the King James Bible as well. Like there's many of them. The what's that one? The Gideon Bible as well. Like, you've got all of these different types of Bible, all written in different ways. And this is the big thing that Muslims have at the moment, is when you talk about the Quran from an English understanding, they go, oh, but you've not read the Arabic. Oh, sorry, your God and his unfathomableness wrote this in a fucking shit ancient language that is so hard to fucking like actually translate, even if you're reading it in Arabic. And I've heard people go, well, actually, this word can mean this, and this. And it's like, exactly. Well done, God. The unfathomableness of your brilliance and your language, and you can see forward in time, but you didn't think I'll use, words they won't get yet just because it'll make sense later. I'm only going to make it sense now, before we've even discovered like technology. Let's do this now. That's God for you. Let's not do anything in the modern day. Let's do everything before the modern day and have it when it gets to the modern day not be able to fit with modern understanding of reality. And let's still perpetuate it as if God is the best because it was written by God and therefore, yeah, it's the best. And it's like, no. If God was the best, I can read this fucking thing in English and its translation is fine. It should be okay because it's God at the end of the day. Does he not want everyone in the world to know about this? Or is it just the few people in the Middle East and Eastern societies that are allowed to know about this and have the world is given to them, is it? Like it's bollocks. It's absolute bollocks to as an argument that, and I hate it. People always have these arguments that I find so stupid because that is a dumb fucking argument to have. That doesn't make any fucking sense, and I've never understood that. That you can say to somebody, oh, well, that's not the right translation. You can't say that. How has God made something that can't be? How has God made something that can't be universal? You're now telling me that God's flawed, and you're telling, while at the same time trying to tell me he's not. That's the most confusing thing to me. I don't get that. But people will. It's the weirdest thing. But people will you will say that to somebody in that most reasonable way, and they will still push on.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought of it that way, like how Christians would say God is perfect, but then at the exact same time we go, well, that's the wrong translation of the Bible.
Yeah. Oh no, we don't stick to the Old Testament. We go with the New now because the New gave them an out. The thing is, Christianity reformed to a degree where the New Testament gets Christians on an out. You can get out of the bullshit in the Bible to a degree because it's all kind of okay with. And it all gets taken away, all of those like killing people and shit to a degree, even though it's still in there. Islam, on the other hand, condones it all the way through. There is no New Testament. There is no new writings. You can't reform it. The moment you reform Islam, you create purists because one of the things they hold dear to their heart is the fact that the Quran has never been changed. You can't change that. You can't do anything to that ideology now. That's its thing. Hey, it's never been changed. It's lasted this long. And now we're infecting the fucking world with it. But don't worry, some of them will be Western Muslims, and not all of the Western Muslims are bad. But the ones that have had a culture shock coming from countries that are under Sharia law may not like the new culture that they're in and the freedoms that they have, and they may not like it because it doesn't adhere to their holy book. Remember that. We're not blaming all Muslims. The majority of the anti-feminist community now or the anti-stupidity and rationalist community that are focusing on Islam as well as feminism is because they are two really incorrect ideologies. Christianity, we know, is incorrect, and it's been ridiculed in the media for fucking years of how stupid it is. And it's the reason why so many people don't believe in Christianity now. Even though there are loads of people now that do believe in Christianity, you still have the cop out of the New Testament anyway to make it into, oh, everyone's good and love and how everyone's happy. Islam doesn't have that. And also Islam can't be ridiculed by the media. And that's its problem. You should be able to ridicule anything in the media. It's the freedom. And if I can't do that without being branded as a racist, which makes no fucking sense, or branded as an Islamophobe, which, to be fair, if I had to choose between a homophobe, being a believer of Islam and thinking that gay people are abominations and it's helping them to kill them, or being an Islamophobe, someone who looks at Islam and thinks, shit, if that did essentially take over the world and we had Sharia law everywhere, you would kill a lot of gay people, and I disagree with that. I don't like the term Islamophobia because it means that you have an irrational fear. I don't have an irrational fear. I don't even have a fear. I have a rational understanding and an objective view of their religion and what its teachings are to determine that in modern society, it will be detrimental to certain people's health when it comes to their sexual orientation. And I disagree with that it would literally want to kill them. That is not an understanding that an evolved species has. It is the idea or the of a default messed up an old religion back in patriarchal times, only existing now in pretty much patriarchal societies that literally have Sharia law in place, and they are, yes, theocracies, and now they're trying to indoctrinate that into the West. And the worst thing about it is this: Islam is backed and supported by not only feminism, but by the LGBT communities in the West, which confuses the fuck out of me like they've never read the Quran. One, how does feminism support something that, if it had Sharia law and was in charge, would take away the rights of women? Which is completely not. It's almost like feminism wants Islam in the West so they have a cause. That's what I'm starting to see. It's almost like, yeah, let Muslims come into the West because they're not all that bad. And then if if a lot of them are being bad in Sharia law, then we have more to up for our statistics. Oh, men are cunts. Yeah, no, but you're allowing the bit. If you're going to talk about men being rapists and stuff, you're allowing the people that literally think as men they are okay to rape, as long as they're like slaves or something, Whereas in just being a white man within modern society, I know by the law of the land, I can't do that. Under Sharia law, I'd be fine. So let's say yes to the Muslims, yeah? That doesn't make sense. It's the most confusing thing. And not only feminists, when the homophobic, like an LGBT community, sorry, not homophobic, but the LGBT community also go against Islamophobia, it's like, come on, don't look at Islamophobia when you don't realize that they're homophobic. Oh, but you're going to say that because you're Islamophobic, and it's like, I'm not scared of Islam. I know there are Muslims out there that are cherry pickers. I get that. I get there are cherry picking Muslims. I mean, when you actually talk to them, they feel so shit because you know more about their fucking Quran than they do. And when you show them passages in their Quran they haven't read, they shut the fuck up and then start going, oh, but I'm still a Muslim. I don't care. Yeah, you keep saying the same thing to me, but you're not actually answering the argument. Oh, but you're just right. No, stop attacking my character. Answer the fucking argument, which is what I've just displayed to you, which is a passage in your holy book that you follow because it's your religion. Explain to me why you think that's okay. But you never say, I think that's okay. You may say, I think that's so. If you say you think it's not okay, then why are you following it? That's the thing. Whereas if you will do your mental gymnastics to make it make sense as well, and I've seen people do that, where it's like, no, but you're an animal if you kill people. Yeah, no, but you're an animal unless it's a righteous killing where you kill homosexuals because they're abominations and that's actually doing something good for them. That's actually seen as a positive. You're seen as actually helping them to get to heaven by doing that instead of them going to hell because they live their lives and die naturally. They're abominations. They're not natural, apparently. Like this is why it's messed up. But I can go over this for hours. Like,
I mean, you don't have to quit talking. I mean, I don't mind you going into details about how you feel.
Oh no, I just feel like I've gone over it over and over now. I think I've repeated the same point. I think the point is very clear and it's very concise. The more I go on, it just becomes almost. It just becomes more and more of the. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. That's why. So yeah.
So why did you leave Christianity?
I left Christianity because I implemented the method of predictive capability, and predictive capability was this. I devoutly believed in God, so and this is my first, I would say, at least I understood in my religion, well, the religion that I was a part of at the time, Christianity, that if I cut listening to swearing, that means watching like that actually what would you say, submissively watching or listening to. So if I decide to listen to music as my choice and that music is swearing in, I'm allowing that into my ears, and that's words of the devil, therefore you're letting the devil into your ears. If you watch TV with swearing, you're doing the same thing. If you watch porn, if you masturbate, you're doing the same thing. So I decided to follow it to a T for a good while. And I followed it to the point where no masturbation, no sexual partners, evangelizing about Christianity and trying to let people understand about Christianity. What else? Not listening to any swearing music. And even though I was a fan of Eminem at the time, I stopped listening to Eminem and got rid of all my music because, I stopped watching TV shows with swearing in. And one of my favorite shows at the time was an English show called Peep Show, which has got a lot of swearing in because it's hilarious and a comedy. And a lot of comedies of swearing in that are adult comedies, and I couldn't watch them anymore. Family Guy might have swearing in it. Can't watch that just in case it says ass or shit or fuck or something. You can't watch it. So I pushed all of this out of my life to only take on board God as my sole savior and as the person that I just wanted to have this relationship with. Because remember, it's not about faith anymore now. It's about a relationship, not blind faith, a relationship. And I had faith that I had a relationship with God. But I work on a relationship basis of God talking to me. Now, God apparently talks to my mum and my father. That's what I've been told by my mother and father, is that they've spoken to God and that they've had visions and stuff from God. Now, I also understand that if you try and talk to yourself or want to talk to yourself over a long period of time, you'll probably just become, schizophrenic and start talking to yourself and create your own invisible friend. So I had to bear in mind that this has not to be my voice, but this will be a voice of God that will actually have more insight and something that I've never thought of before as an understanding. And maybe something will happen, but I'd like to hear a voice. And I'm not going to put the voice in my head. Anytime a voice is in my head, it's my voice. So if it's a new voice, then I'll understand it. So I decided to do this. And I did this for a while. It was probably a couple of years or something where I decided to do this. And then nothing came back from God. Nothing came back. No talking, no actual communication. I prayed every day and stuff like that. And when you realize through predictive capability that God is unfathomable, okay? We do tests in science now that have a millionth of a chance of happening, like the smallest chance of happening, and we go, holy fuck, we found the Higgs. And this is the thing, we find these things and we know that they're hard to find, and we find it off the smallest thing and we still find fucking evidence. God is unfathomable. He can be everywhere at any time. He's omnipresent. He's in time. So there's the thing and every time I spoke to a fucking Christian about why is God not talking to me yet, the only response you get is you either get one or two responses. One, it takes time for God to speak to you. And the other one, when you're not a Christian and you say, God won't speak to me and I've given him his chance. My parents used to say before I was a Christian, what makes you so special? To which I always used to turn around to that argument and said, God. God's the one that said I was that special. God's the one that says I'm his loved sheep and his child. And you now telling me that I'm not special enough for him to talk to is bullshit. But what are you doing to show that you wanted to talk to him? That was the other argument. So I showed him. And I showed God that I wanted him to talk to me and I wanted him to be part of my life. And it's not that I'm butthurt from God not talking to me. It's an understanding and a realization that a person has to go through. And the way that I went through it was by giving him every chance possible. So I say him because that's how you learn it, as a him or a she, or as an it or as a God. But God had every chance possible to intervene into my life and say, you haven't been swearing. You've cut everything out of your life that was wrong in accordance to my word. And I want to speak to you. And I want you to know that I'm here. And I want you to know that you have done the right thing. And it's going to be hard the rest of your life because people are going to tell you that this is going to happen. But you don't hear this from God. You hear this from pastors and people that have been told through God. No, I don't want to hear it from another fucking man. Men are fickle. Mankind is fickle. I want to hear this from God. I'm already following a fickle book that is written through the hand of man through the word of God. And I already know it's got a percentage of fickleness to it. But you have to understand that I'm trying to follow this to the T. And by doing that, even if God could have come forward at that point and said, I know you're trying your best here, my son or my child, to follow the correct religion, but it's the wrong one. You should be actually following Islam or following this. And he could have done that as well. He is unfathomable. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere at every point in time, but he can't stop for every individual person who's trying to give them that support. And that's something that humankind has that God fucking never has. Support. Humans support one another in religion. Humans support one another no matter what it is. If it's an ideology or if they break off from an ideology, other humans still support that. And that's what humans have that God never has, is support. He basically said, I made this world for you, and that's there to support you as it dwindles away and probably becomes an inevitable heat death of the universe. No, it's, that's what you've got. And I'm not going, but you'll intervene sometimes, and I have to recognize that as you intervening. And then all the bad things I have to recognize as Satan or you just watching. Cheers, dick, you're everywhere. It doesn't make any sense. There's no logical sense to God that if you're trying and he isn't there. And that was my point, was I tried and I tried and I tried. And if I was either going to become schizophrenic or blindly follow, or he was going to make contact with me as an unfathomable, omnipresent being that has the power to apparently move mountains, change worlds, and create a fucking universe and life itself. He can do that, but he can't fucking say to you, give you a small amount of support, internally or as a sign or something. He can't. And because he can't do that, he doesn't exist in my personal opinion. How can that God exist? This perfect, unfathomable God. I know as a person who is apparently imperfect, and I know as a human being, I'm definitely not perfect. But I still know that I can give fucking moral support to someone trying to go towards a cause that I would like if I agree with their grounds. So that I don't sit there in an echo chamber where I just agree because I go, hey, that supports my narrative. I see if you're actually what you've looked into and if you're correct. And if what you're saying is correct, at least from my understanding, then fine. If you're just making flimsy points, I'll go, yeah. You don't really make that. You don't really make a point of why that's correct. I can understand if it's just a joke and comedy, fair enough. But the thing is, human beings actually can support one another as a species. And if we're made in God's image, then we got something God didn't have, which was, humanity. And it's one thing that God lacks. He actually lacks the give a shit about his own creation that apparently within every religion, he really gives a shit about, while killing a lot of them as well. But still, that's why I don't believe in religion or a God.
Yeah, here in the West, very few people actually follow the Bible to the a T. Usually, many people only partially follow the Bible. I mean, they follow enough. Like even with the church I grew up in, I grew up Pentecostal Christian, and they still, follow enough to feel morally superior to other people. It really seems to be self-gratification. It seems to be to feel morally superior. So they follow enough to be like, yep, they feel egotistic to other people, but without going like, it's kind of like, when growing up Pentecostal Christian, my mother still watched comedy with cussing and swearing in it, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it does seem strange, like I understand deists a lot more than I understand Christians, because with a deist attitude, God created everything and then went away, to do another project. He just like it's all there, and then he just gone, and you don't have to worship him, you don't have to praise him or believe in him. He doesn't care. He just created you, and then he disappeared.
Yeah, no.
Well, by the way, is there anybody with any questions for cognitive thoughts? Anybody with any questions? Second questions, but I do have one question left. Let's see. Is there anything you wish your audience knew about you?
No, I think I'm quite open and honest on my channels about who I am as a person and how I am. I don't see the point in not being like that. If I'm asked a question, I'm honest. So it's like I've always had that though. I'd say I've always had that. I was a cunt when I was growing up, but I think after going through a Christian phase, but also realizing that you can be moral without needing religion, you start to build your own morals that you have to stick by it too. And one of mine is being very blunt and honest and open. And I think I've lost a lot of friends by my blunt honesty because they've got offended by stuff. And it's like I'm not trying to. It's not that I don't support people, but it's when I see people just going like, "Oh, my feels are getting hurt by this," and it's just like, "Fuck off, man!" Like, grow up. And because these things happen, and people get so upset by their own feelings over, like when people get offended. And you're like, look, offense is given. It can be given from people, but it's up to you whether you take it. It's like a gift. You don't have to have it. If someone goes, here, I'm going to give you a present and it's got a bomb inside it, it's going to blow up in it as soon as you take it off me. You're not going to take it off them, are you? And that's exactly what offense is. It's me going, you're a dick, and it's going to blow up in your mind if you take it on board as offensive. Or you can just go, well, that's a little bit like not very constructive, just like ad-hoing and just calling me names. But anything else to add to that, or is it just name calling for you? And that's it. And you can that's it. And you can be very you can take the moral high ground. You don't have to be. And if they aren't, then you can get to the point where it's like, oh, so you're just obviously the irony is that you're actually being a dick, calling me a dick. That's just beautiful irony in itself, and that's funny as it is. But I don't know. It's one of those things. When it comes to people not knowing about anything about me, I think the only thing people don't really know is what I look like, I suppose. But I'm not really bothered by that. I like I like my little my avatar, and essentially like my little character I can play with on the screen. And I don't really care. I mean, I don't think it would take a huge amount of effort for people to find out who I was. If they were to really look it up, I don't think it would take that long to find out who I really was. But I don't care. It's one of those things. It's like the Armored Skeptic. Armored Skeptic didn't really show a face reveal till he was at like 100,000 subs sort of thing. Bering still hasn't, but if you look deep enough, you can find out who Bering is. I don't know what Bering looks like, even though I know I can find out about it because, through different ways. And the reason why I don't look it up is because I actually just respect him. I respect him to have his own, you know, his own personal anonymity if he wants that. And I like having the anonymity. It doesn't mean I won't speak my mind if I wasn't just on a camera. It's just nice having the extra little character that I can play with like a little cartoon. I like that. But at the same time, everything that's actually said within my actual response videos and all the videos I do is completely me, 100% me, and it's exactly how I am. My girlfriend agrees with what I'm doing, and she supports what I do as well, and she loves that I'm doing these videos, as she believes, she sees what's happening in her side. She has friends, she gets this stuff on her Facebook all the time from feminism. She's like, God, this stuff makes me sick, because she hates it. She sees it as really degrading, because she's like, I'm a woman and you're telling me I'm a fucking child that can't take being called names, and that I don't have the rights in society men do, when I know that I probably have more privilege in society because people treat me better as a woman because of the whole women and children bullshit that's been going on for years, and the whole, when you grow up, men are told not to hit girls. You never see girls being told not to hit men. Like, that's a specific thing. It's not just don't hit children or don't hit other people, it's don't hit girls. Very fucking clear. It's girls you don't hit. That was one thing. You never hit girls. In fact, it's not even don't hit girls, it's never hit girls. It's don't hit other people and never hit girls. And I grew up with that. And this is the thing, is everyone, I know a lot of people who grew up with this understanding, which is why it's really baffling to me.
Yeah, that also seems to exist in Asian countries, to be honest. Like, I could watch an anime, and it's kind of like you could see a guy get into a bunch of fights, but he would never hit a girl.
Yeah. I know. I think that was in Pokemon, actually, to a degree, where it's like, then everyone mentions it where they're about to have a Pokemon fight, and he's like, I'm not going to fight a girl. And you hear that. That is in society. It's ingrained in society that men can't hit women. It's ingrained in society that if a disaster happens, it's women and children first. But for some reason, women don't get as much privilege as men. But I do have a anecdotal example of privilege in the UK to a degree. Well, it's not really privilege. I hate the term privilege. Privilege is a good thing. Privilege is when you get like Danny Duchamp says, when you get a driver's license and now you have the privilege to drive your car. It used to be a good thing, and now it's like, you've got privilege, well, you're a cunt and I've got oppression points, so I'm the best. It's the weirdest thing. But here's an example of what would you call it? Let's call it a version of female privilege in society. So I worked in a casino where we have waitresses, and also we have some male waiters as well, but it's mainly waitresses. Again, waitress, is that a sexist term because it only applies to women? Oh no, it's like actress and actor. Fuck. But yeah, the fact is, when it comes down to it, this waitress. So when I've been in work, I was working as a croupier in a casino. So I was a croupier working at the table dealing. Now, I don't know if my arse somehow gave this woman good luck, but she reached over the bar. Now, there's a bar there so that the customers can't touch you, and it's in the way of your customers so that they can't just rush you if they get really angry at a table for losing a lot of money. Now, this woman leant over the table while I was like, I've been placing bets for everyone during a spin. She's leant over the table and full on, like I'm like a skinny guy, but I think due to my genetics and my family, I've got a bit of a big ass. My mum's always said it. So yeah, but it's one of those. So this girl has groped like the whole of my left arse cheek, like seriously. And I've gone, can you not grope me? And then she's just gone, oh, sorry. And then like basically her number has then come in. So she's then, and I've gone to, and I've dollied the number and then brought my hand back to the table as we're supposed to. And then you're supposed to separate and then you clear the table. And as I brought my hand back, as the numbers come in before I've dollied it, and as I've got to dolly it, she's grabbed my hand and gone, oh yeah. And I'm like, can you get off me? Like, I'm actually, because the thing is, regardless of if I was in a relationship, I can't stand customers thinking that they have the authority over a member of staff. It's just ridiculous. I understand that a customer is always right, totally fair. Don't grope me, don't manhandle me. I will talk to you on a reasonable level. If you start being irrational, I'll still talk to you on a reasonable level verbally. But when it comes down to actually touching me, you're not allowed to fucking do that. And that's it's an invasion of personal space. Everyone has that, regardless of gender. Now, this woman has done that, and I've had to wait till I get off the table to point anything out. I mentioned it to the inspector who was watching my table, and he kind of just laughed and then walked off to another table to inspect that as well, because they usually inspect about 4 tables. And I thought, there's no point bringing this up. This is just going to be a big thing right now, and everyone's just going to think I'm an idiot, because that's how you do feel as a man. You feel like an idiot for bringing it up. And it's like, fuck it. She's obviously got overexcited as well. And she's grabbed my ass. She's being an idiot. She's had a couple to drink as well. Plus, she is also stood next to her boyfriend or some guy who she may be fucking, who seems to also not have a problem with the fact she's just groped my ass. So he may even stick up for her and say, no, she didn't, even though it'll all be on camera. And I know that. So anyway, I then went off the table to go on my break. And I mentioned it to my pit boss. He's the one who tells you to go on your break and what table you've got to go to. And he keeps control of where everyone goes on the rotation. He then laughs at me as well and goes, oh, you must have enjoyed that. And I went, no, I didn't. And I found it really weird that this just wasn't being taken seriously. Pure anecdotal evidence, but it wasn't being taken seriously. This is the point that I'm trying to make. And I've just gone, right. And I brushed it off because who gives a fuck? I don't really care. It's not like I'm scarred for life that this woman groped my ass. It's not like I'm not getting... Do you know what I mean? Who gives a shit? Even if she fancied me, I don't give a fuck. I mean, who cares? And she's obviously drunk and she's showed her attraction in a wrong way. But as a man... we get over it. Sorry, but a lot of men I find can get over this sort of shit because they don't give a shit. But women don't like being touched. And it's totally correct that you should not like to be touched. I don't like being touched by someone for no fucking reason who I don't fucking know, who is a customer, who's just gambling on my table. I don't like that either. But the fact is when I realize no one's taking it seriously, you do sit there, and I understand that concept of people aren't taking it seriously and you don't yourself, even though I could have been a full-on SJW, take this seriously and made it into a big thing. Why? To prove a point? There's no point. There is no point to that. You look like a fucking imbecile. You look like a cunt to all of your customers who, at the same time, a lot of them you probably do like, and they probably would respect you for doing it and making the point. But a lot of people would just be like, dude, she just groped your ass. And a lot of people would be like that. That is the society we live in. Whereas a waitress at work got her ass groped by a drunken customer who, as she was walking away, she served him and stuff, he grabbed her bum. He got barred. He got barred from the casino, and literally she went to the manager, told him, and he got immediately escorted off the premises. Immediately. That is a society that we live in nowadays, and apparently it's sexist as fuck because we're all sexist towards women. And women don't have privilege in society, and they aren't treated better than men. And this is the thing, is I have my own anecdotal evidence to see it other ways. Whereas also I can sit there and say, yes, men are very men are very vocal about how they see women, especially when they're in a drinking environment or out at a club. And a lot of men are like, oh, yeah, she's really good looking. Oh, she's got big. This is attraction. Some men display it verbally. Some keep it in their heads. The best men, I would say, probably keep it in their heads. I know I have a sibling who has almost like Tourette's when it comes to seeing women in the street. And he's like, oh, I'd love to fuck her. And it's like, whoa, that's really embarrassing to be around you. But he is like that. And it's like he has no filter. But to be fair, he's only displaying his, what he'd like to do. And it's almost like an attraction thing, but on a very primitive basis. But it doesn't mean that he's going to actually rape her. It doesn't mean that he didn't go, oh, I'd love to rape her. He said, oh, I'd love to have sex with her. I'm pretty sure he'd like her consent before that. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be like, oh, if she was passed out, I'd fuck her. Now, if he said that, I wouldn't even I'd abandon him completely as my sibling and probably make it legal that he was not my sibling if he said something along those lines. But to be fair, he is pretty terrible too. But we're not going to go down that. That's just a sibling of mine who, having 7 brothers, you're going to have one that's a little bit loopy. It's one of those things, though, like it is in our society that we live in. Men's rights advocates make way more sense to me than people who are trying to advocate women's rights, especially when men don't have rights. And if you're really talking about the social, economically, you're talking about stuff that when it comes to the social equality of women, you're talking about like, oh, well, women get like looked at by men as sex objects and women look at men like sex objects. Look at like Abercrombie and Fitch. Like, do you know the reason why women go in there with their boyfriends? Because they think that somehow by buying the clothes, their men might become like all of these hot guys outside the store and inside the store serving you that have no tops on, all ripped, you know, completely, you know, have they been lifting, bruh? They've been lifting, bruh. Like, it's ridiculous. And this is the thing, is the fact that they go in there to buy something on the principle that, oh, yeah, you'll look really good in this, boyfriend. I'm not coming in to look at it. But imagine a man walking into a shop where there's a load of women in skimpy outfits going, hey, do you want to come in here? We call that a strip club. We literally call that a strip club. And if you do go into a place where women may have, or women's lingerie, it's women's lingerie and women go in there. Men rarely go in there unless they're with their girlfriend, or if they're going in there to buy something for their girlfriend, and they may feel a little bit awkward as well. And this is the thing, is that it's like, oh, but the thing is that when it comes to online is a very free space where a lot of people can hide their anonymity. And because they can hide their anonymity, they can also, you know, they feel like they can be open with themselves. You get a lot of people on dating sites. And this is the thing that people don't get about dating sites. Do you know why a lot of men are awful on dating sites? Because the majority of, because when it comes to dating sites and their percentages, women obviously say yes to more, to less men than men do. Obviously, men say yes to more women. When this comes down to actually trying to find a match is difficult enough. Then when you find someone who said yes to do, it's only based on the attraction. They may not have even read your profile. Whereas if they have read your profile, I've had people literally say to me like, hey, and spoken to me for about 10 minutes, and then they've gone, oh, wait a minute, I've just read that you smoke weed in your profile. We can't talk. Like, it's like, okay, bye. Like, you've just spoken to me for 20 minutes like you're really interested and liked me, and then realized one thing with my life, and now you don't want to talk. And it's like, okay, I know how it feels. Like, men know how it feels to be rejected on a daily basis if you're on a dating fucking site. If you're on a dating site looking for a girlfriend, any of them, you know how it is to be rejected on a daily basis. You just fucking do. It's just the way that it is, right? And it's not but men get on with it. Men just go about their lives, and that's why you see men's rights advocates. You do, right? And I actually like men's rights advocates because the fact that there are men's rights that need advocating, that's why I like them. Women and feminists, well, it's not women, because you get male feminists as well. Feminism doesn't work unless it's in other countries where the advocacy of women's rights are needed. And it's as simple as that. That's why I can't understand them trying to fight for rights in the West. And when they talk about the inequalities in society, you know that they are, you know, just from being a man or a woman, looking at reality and paying attention to both sides of how men and women are treated, how to only look at like certain scenarios where it's gender biased. I've just shown you a scenario which was a gender biased thing where a woman got treated differently to a man, and the woman got the right treatment and the man got the wrong treatment. Does that mean I should therefore start perpetuating that as why feminism and why women are wrong and why women get better treatment? No, it's one little bit of anecdotal evidence. I can't sit there and say that all women are treated great, because I know there's a lot of women that are also treated terribly, because there are men in the world that are sexist. There are women in the world who are sexist. That's the problem with feminism. They see all men as sexist and women can't be sexist. It's like when the whole white people can be racist and no one else can be racist thing. You can't be racist towards white people. That whole shit. And it's like, if you say derogatory things about a race in a context of hatred or dislike to a degree, then yeah, you are. You've been pretty, racist there if it's about the race, But people don't get that. It's just disgusting. Patriarchy Bear's in the chat. Love Patriarchy Bear. You were in a video that I was, someone responded to me yesterday, and you were in the video, one of your comments. It's brilliant. That guy who I did a video to, the Mr. Nick Inc., he's done a response to my video saying he loves my channel because he's just an act, actually, which he played a convincing feminist. Hopefully that'll make him feel good about his act. But at the same time, it was just like, you should have made it a little bit more clear. Like, personally, I think otherwise you just aren't actually helping a cause. I can understand making it jokingly if you want to look up a channel called Political Pup. Brilliant satire, amazing at doing an actual joking feminist that makes it very clear within the things that how she responds that it's obviously a jokey taking the piss out of feminism by pretending to be a feminist. Whereas he came across as an actual feminist because he actually showed the arguments that actual feminists do, like definitions, and not actually sticking to the argument. But that was the point of his actual thing. That is the point of what he was doing. That's why I can look back at it now and go, fair enough. But when I first came across it and people had sent it to me and I read the about me on his thing and I read the thing, I was like, you say you're dark comedy and you say that this video is comedy, but I don't know if you're thinking it's comedy because you're laughing at anti-feminists who are women. Do you see what I mean? Laughing at the fact that they are women against feminism. I don't know if you're laughing at that. That's the thing. So when it just says comedy in your description, that's all I know. All it has to do is show the video by all means, but if you have in the description, by the way, this is parody, or it doesn't break your act. People can watch that and get angry, and you'll see the knee-jerk reactions. That's the thing with that was my problem with his video. Is I was like, if you were honest, you'd see his actual knee-jerk reactions, whereas he didn't show that. He didn't actually say in any part of it that he was a parody. And he was like, oh well, if you look at all my other videos, I'm not going to look through your entire fucking channel when I'm responding to one video here. I'm going to look at a couple of your videos, and a couple of your videos you carry on with this sort of like thing. It's just, yeah, fun times on YouTube.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Cognitive Doll?
Yeah. Kevin, Patriarchy Bear, Celtic, any other guys? Castray Joe. Sorry, Castray Joe. Carlos. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, you see what I called that. Anyone? Any questions at all? And if you really can't think of one, I'm pretty sure we won't mind a cancerous question.
Yeah, if nobody could think of one, sure, ask a cancerous one.
Yeah, Patriarchy Bear saying he got hung up on the video and he's bad for that. To be fair, dude, I wrote a response video. Don't worry about it.
Well, it looks like we're not getting any questions.
Oh, no, there you go. There's a question. What's the best time I've smoked weed? What's the best time I've had smoking weed? Is that the question, Patriarchy? The best time I've had smoking weed? I'm sure I can answer that question. You know what? I'm just going to answer it like it's that question. The best time that I've had smoking weed was probably when I went to Amsterdam. Probably one of the best times I've had. I personally feel if I hadn't gone with my Muslim girlfriend who didn't smoke weed at the time, but she smoked it a little bit with tobacco, but not a lot. I think I might have enjoyed it a little bit more because she got kind of like towards the holiday, she was just kind of going on about shit and stuff because of the news, and it annoyed me. But best time I've had definitely smoking weed has to be in Amsterdam, because it's just, you go inside a coffee shop, you buy some weed, you sit down, you can blaze it inside a coffee shop and order a drink. That is like totally foreign to me being from England, but it's amazing that you can do that. And you realize in a society like that how, oh no, look, weed isn't a problem. Like it's baffling. Seriously. Like, and then the best thing about it though is actually you leave the coffee shop and immediately you are greeted with pancake houses, waffle houses, like ice cream like parlors, macaroon stores, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm stoned as hell and I can eat everything on this street alone. Like, and it's just, I love it. Yeah. My favorite Overwatch character. Oh, the thing is, I don't play Overwatch, and I know people are going to hate me because the game's been seen as great, but I've not actually bought it yet. Not to say I don't think it looks like a really fucking amazing game, but I do know. Let me just check them out, because I know when I've seen the characters like in the game, I just forget the names and stuff. I'm gonna look at them now, and I'll tell you which one I like. This is not through playing. I know I like the what's her face Tracer. I do like the fact that how she moves, especially in the game. I am a bit of a fan of Chaser. I know that one. She's the main one that I've looked at. A lot of people have been playing as though when I've seen stuff online. But yeah, it's a great game. But unfortunately, yeah, the only real answer I have for that is probably a very generic one. But again, this isn't on playing with the person. I suppose I have to play the game to actually come up with a real opinion on it. Right now, I'm really just going for the popular opinion, which may be Tracer. I kind of like Tracer because of the fact she pissed off the feminist community. There you go. Because everyone thought she was sexualized by not being sexualized, by being Tracer. I kind of like Tracer for that. Celtic likes Symmetera. Or Symmetera. Nice. Patriarchy Bear sounds like heaven. I'm so jealous. Patriarchy Bear, get yourself to Amsterdam. You'll love it. Will your brain dress more conservatively? It is a very sexy brain. I don't know how to get clothes on my brain, so I don't know how to dress them per se. If it comes to actually how it is in my avatar, you're gonna have to, deal with it. That's just how sexy it is. Watch them cogs turn. If those cogs turn you on, they're turning correctly. There you go. I think that might be it for the questions.
Yeah, because I mean, I am taking questions at this time. Going once, going twice. I guess we'll end it here. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a nice night.
Thank you, everyone.